Hello, my lovely lichens. Let me turn volume to the sound down. I'm gonna keep it low because we're just here for chatting today. And you know what? I've been kind of thinking about it, and I don't know if I've done many just chatting streams. Typically when I stream, I always have something going on, like a game or art or something. But I just kind of feel like rambling today. Except now I can't see my Twitch chat on OBS, and that makes me sad. I want to be able to see you. I can't even refresh is the crazy part. Like, it's just a white screen. What the heliante is happening here with the heliberry? But yeah, I hope you all have some snacks. You all have snuggled up, maybe perhaps with a dog or a cat or an iguana or a parakeet. I don't know what you guys have. I would have all the animals. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to rant about games today. Mostly because I have wanted to make more games for so long. Because, in case you didn't know, I'm Nick Carlinen. I have a degree in a game art and animation, bachelor's degree, bleh. And I have made, or I shouldn't say I have contributed to 2 games in the past, 10 years, I want to say. Oh my god, has it really been 10? No, it's been less than 10 years. Sorry, no, like 6 years. Bleh. I was gonna say, no, I graduated high school 10 years ago. And, yo, Stan Wolf, thank you for joining the Lycan Legion. I thought I changed the thingy. Oh well, I'll have to fix that later, but thank you for coming in. I'm trying to figure out why Twitch chat is broken on my, my OBS. Let me see if I can figure that out while we're rambling here. Chat. Oh, I think I fixed it. I think it was just a simple close it and then reopen it type thing. Haha, I'm genius. And Bloody's here too. Hey, welcome to ow, my bones. Welcome to the chat. So yeah, I have contributed to 2 games in it was 2021 when I graduated. Wait, it's only 25. Oh my god, yeah, it's only been like 5 years. Wow. Yeah, because I did a game for my senior capstone, which is on Steam, by the way. It's free. And I did another one about a year ago with my partner Glitched Rune, which we posted to Itch for a little game jam. So yeah, so I have a little expertise in making games, sort of. I say sort of because I cannot code. I can't code to save my life. I make art, because that is my whole degree, is making art and animation. So for a lot of the games, I either worked on the art, I worked on the animation, or I worked on both. For the first game, I did only animation because I was brought on after the team had already had a pre-established art lead, and they were mainly looking for an animator for 2D, which was I was good at bone animation for 2D. And then the second game was actually my first attempt at a 3D game. So I did all the 3D modeling, I did the rigging, and I did the animation. Now, that doesn't say I haven't worked on other games in the past, but these are the only 2 that are like out for the public to play and, still kicking around to this day. So I have definitely worked on more games in the past, probably too many games, but most of those were just like demos, like prototype shits that never really truly saw the light of day. Unfortunately, some of those games were really fun. Looking at you, Piano Night. Piano Night was a great game. I miss Piano Night to this day. If anybody from my college still knows me, still watches me, just know I love Piano Night. And if you know what that is, you're a real one. And if you don't, sorry, not sorry. You had to be there. But I have been craving a specific type of game lately. Especially because Rune has really been loving the new Final Fantasy Tactics remake, the Ivalice Chronicles. Ivalice Chronicles. I have yet to play it. I own the game, so I will be playing it because I cannot bring dishonor upon my boyfriend. I must play it, for it is his favorite childhood game, just as I would make him play Sly Cooper if I could find Sly Cooper on the PC. or other, you know, like Spyro Dawn of the Dragon. I would definitely make him play that. But besides that, I've been like thinking about a lot of games that I used to play when I was a kid. And some of you may have played these too. Namely, I've always wanted to make like a creature catcher game. Or, you know, yeah, I don't know if it's catcher is the right thing, but like something like either like a game like Pokemon, Digimon, I can't say Digimon, I haven't played Digimon, but something along the lines like Pokemon Beastie Ball. I've been playing a lot of Beastie Ball. Temtem, where like you are some sort of trainer type person who is like adventuring in the world, and you know there's fun, cool, mythical, magical creatures about that you can catch and, you know, potentially battle with. The other end of that is something along the lines of like an app game I used to play a lot when I was a teenager called Dragon Veil. And I'll have to like be able to pull up some browser stuff as I talk about this. Actually, where is my browser window? Let me open a window up because so I might give you guys some visuals in case you you folks have never seen these games before. Actually, funnily enough, speaking of Dragon Veil, I did a whole oh, what do you call it? I did a whole presentation in college about the UI design of Dragon Veil. So give me a second here. Let me bring this down here so we can talk about it. So yeah, Dragon Veil is one of these ones. And in case you've never seen Dragon Veil, it's a very simple 2D game, but the gist of it is like you buy like base element dragons from the store, you breed said dragons, and then you make a cool dragon park for people to come and visit. And then, of course, like later on, they added new stuff like that, a collab with D&D, so you get Tiamat. They added like a time dragon, so you could speed things up, quests, stuff like that. But when I first played, the very gist of it was you buy a habitat, you build a habitat, you buy a base element dragon to put in said habitat. So, like, of course, the fire dragon, like, is the cover of Dragon Veil right here. And then, yeah, fire dragon. Yeah, because you have to take them from baby to adolescent to adult in order to breed them. Can't breed the babies, that's illegal. And then yeah, and then you depending on what elements you bred together, there are different percentage chances of you getting like other breeds, such as like this guy here, the cactus dragon. He was a plant electric. See, that one was, I think, like the ice, not the ice dragon. Maybe it was the ice dragon. It was cold and water. Yes, it was cold type, not ice type. But between like something like this and another game I was also really interested in for a time as a teenager, who, I don't know if many of you guys would know this, but a little browser game here called Flight Rising. And Flight Rising was like the shit for me when I was younger because dragons, duh. But not just dragons with lore. And it was another breeder game, so in fact I will be showing you guys my lair right here. These are old dragons I have, but like you essentially get one of the 4 base dragons because I played back before a lot of the dragons came out. You got one of 4 base dragons. That's how you started your lair. You bought dragons from like the auction house, bred them to try and get cool designs. Like basically the whole point of the game is just to keep breeding dragons so you get cool designs and maybe make some lore or something about it. I don't know. But like, I like games with like elemental dragons. As you can clearly see, I have a track record here of elemental dragons and or magical creatures. And for a long time, I wanted to make a game like Dragon Veil, where like you would either catch or rescue or something these magical creatures, maybe dragons, maybe just other random creatures like Pokemon, in a way. And like basically build your own, like, I don't want to say park because I don't want it to be like an amusement park type thing, right? I wanted it to be more like a little bit more like I'm going to keep bringing up old games from my childhood, like Zoo Empire, or maybe the modern iteration of Planet Zoo. But when I was a kid, it was Zoo Empire. And this was, maybe, I hope you guys remember, this was back in the day when you got CDs for your computer. So you would take your CD, your PC CD-ROM. Yeah, that's right. I'm bringing out the old tech. Take your PC CD-ROM, put that baby in your tower, download that shit, and bada bing, bada bam, you got you got Zoo Empire. And, like, it was, like, to me, it was a really fun game. I actually still have it on Steam. Well, not Zoo Empire itself on Steam, but I have Marine Park Empire, which is, like, the sequel to it, which is essentially Zoo Empire, but with aquatic creatures. Ooh. So if you wanted to have, like, orca whales, and, like, penguins are already in Zoo Empire, but, like, stuff like that. Like, dolphins and sharks and all that good shit, you could have those. And yeah, it was basically just Zoo Empire, but with more shit. But, like, I want to combine all these things. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I just want to combine shit and make, like, the ultimate fantasy dream game for my childhood self. Which has always been magical fantasy creatures, catching and or rescuing said magical fantasy creatures, and cool story. Because I got to talking with Rune earlier today, because he also is working on his own game right now. I won't spoil it. That's for him to say. But I was telling him about this, and I was like, I also, because of him talking about Final Fantasy Tactics, it got me thinking about another game that I loved when I was a kid, still do love, which is the OG Pokemon Mystery Dungeon for the Nintendo DS / Game Boy Advance, depending on which version you had. I had the DS version. My little sister actually had the Game Boy Advance version. But, like, I loved these games when I was a kid, and I'm like, you know, I can't think of many games. Well, technically, I was thinking of Conquest because of Tactics, but it got me thinking about Mystery Dungeon. And it got me thinking, like, I haven't seen really many Mystery Dungeon games. Not ones as popular, at least to me, as Pokemon was. Granted, of course, Pokemon was popular for, like, way before it made a Mystery Dungeon game, which just helped with the advertisement of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, as well as that one secret DVD you got if you got Pokemon Explorers of Time, Darkness, or Sky, I think. I don't remember. There were secret animes they released with them. I still have one. Which is super fucking cool, by the way. If you've never seen the Pokemon Blue Red Rescue Team mini anime short, that shit's fire. That shit's gas. It was basically just a retelling of the first part of the game, in which you go rescue Diglett from Skarmory, but it was still cool as shit. And I loved it. But I was like, man, I kind of miss Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. At least the first two, I guess I'll say the first two generations, which was Blue Red Rescue Team and Explorers of Darkness, Time, and Sky. Because beyond that, after those two games, to me, it kind of started to fall downhill, personally. Like, I loved Mystery Dungeon and all that, but, like, yeah, see, animated specials. Team Go-Getters out of the gate, and the anime, this one. I didn't know they had more. I'm gonna have to look those up now. But anyway, I'm trying to find, like, which order. There we go, yeah. So after, I don't remember Adventure Squad either. Gates to Infinity. Gates to Infinity was the one I played. That was their first 3D version of it, and I don't know about you guys if you played those games, but I was not vibing as much with Gates to Infinity. But maybe that's because, to me, they kind of dumbed down the story a little bit. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the story of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I do, very intimately. Mostly because I played it recently. But also because I just remember how fucking dark it was for a kid's game. For a Pokemon game. Like, if you don't remember, or if you've never seen Pokemon Blue Rescue Team, let me set the scene for you to understand like just how crazy to me Pokemon Blue Mystery Dungeon was. Because it starts off like you do your fun little quiz, because in this game, in order to become Pokemon, you had a personality quiz, right? So you answer your personality quiz and then it gives you your Pokemon. My first one was actually Bulbasaur, which made me really mad because I wanted Charmander. But anyway, I told myself I would be legit and I played as Bulbasaur anyway, and I got Charmander as my partner. So I still won out in the end. But you wake up in this world and you're like, whoa, what happened to me? Where am I? And you realize you're a Pokemon, because spoiler alert, you weren't a Pokemon before. You were a person. From where? I don't fucking know how. Because in this world, everything is Pokemon. There's no humans in sight, but somehow you are one, and somehow the Pokemon know about humans, despite this being a world ruled by Pokemon who run towns. Anyway, let me get back to the main point. So yeah, you wake up, your Pokemon, your partner that you chose at the beginning of the game, you know, is the one who wakes you up and he's like, "Oh man, I'm glad you're awake. I thought you were dead or something." And you hear this little baby crying out in the woods, and you're like, "Whoa, we gotta rescue that baby. These woods are dangerous. Why is there a baby in these woods?" And you go along, you run through the woods, and you rescue Caterpie, and you bring it back, and your new friend is like, "Hey man, you know, I've always wanted to build a rescue team, but like I just never had somebody to build one with. You can't really be a team of one. So do you want to build a rescue team with me?" And you're like, "Sure, of course. Random person thing I just met 5 minutes ago. Let's do it." And you form your very first rescue team, which are common in this world. Because in this world, there are mystery dungeons, aka places where the land constantly warps and people get lost in all the time, and is also really dangerous because the Pokemon there are mad for some reason. And yeah, like a good portion, like the beginning of the story is, you know, kind of just you and your partner establishing your rescue team. You name your rescue team, you do missions, save Diglett from Skarmory, yada yada yada. And then you meet the bad guys, who are in the back of this image here. Mostly is this Gengar here, who is the leader, who eventually becomes the leader of his own rescue team. And he has a personal vendetta against you. And at first you don't know why. You're very unsure why, you know, this random Gengar is upset with you. But you also learn as you're going through these adventures that something is wrong with the world. Like there's a bunch of random cataclysms that seem to keep popping up, like terrifying storms, tsunamis, earthquakes, every natural disaster you can think of. They're like happening at a quicker pace. And people are getting worried. Pokemon are getting worried because, you know, natural disasters are not great. And, you know, you and your partner are like, "Well, geez, we don't know why these natural disasters are happening. It's crazy shit." And eventually, I believe it's either from Whiscash. I always say that Pokemon's name wrong. Whiscash or Zatu. I can't remember which one. I'm going to get the story wrong a little bit, so I'll have to look it up. But anyway, you learn from one of them about this legend about a Ninetales who lives. Hold on, let me make the map bigger for you guys. You guys can follow along with me here. Zoom the fuck in. You learn of a Ninetales who lives like way the fuck over here on the right side of the map. Zoom in. Zoom. Is this Batman the Mask of Phantasm behind the scenes documentary? No, unfortunately, this is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon behind the scenes documentary. And by behind the scenes, I mean it's just me lore dumping the entire game. For those of you who don't know, and also because I like talking about this game because it's one of my favorite games. But you hear of a Ninetales who lives like way the fuck over here in this very far right. I hope you guys can see my mouse. This very far right zone. And apparently, like, back in the day, in the back rooms, jingle, jingle, jingle. Back in the day, there was a human in this world. How a human got to this world, I don't know. Again, this world is full of nothing but Pokemon. But a human got to this world, and rocked up to Ninetales' like ice cold mountain home and saw it and was like, "Aw, dog, you know it'd be so cool touching that Ninetales' tail." And Ninetales was not about that shit. So Ninetales turned the human into a Pokemon. And now things are like happening here. You're like, whoa, a human turned into a Pokemon? That's crazy. How would that happen? But then you also heard that because of the fact that a human got turned into a Pokemon, it upset the world's balance because people are not supposed to be Pokemon. I know, shocker. But apparently this curse that Ninetales inflicted upon the person was so great that it upset the world's balance, and now the world is coming to an end because there's a dude walking around in a Pokemon suit somewhere. And of course, you told your friend this like way back at the beginning. You woke up and you're like, "I'm not a Pokemon, bro. I'm a human." And he was kind of like, "You're crazy, but all right." And yeah, so you guys hear about this legend, and you and your partner are like, "Oh, dude, we're so fucked." So anyway, Gengar, lovely boy from back on the cover here, hears that you are a human who became a Pokemon. And so he rocks up to the town and is like, "Hey, yo, guys, I know exactly how to solve our cataclysm problem. It's you." He like, points dramatically at you, of course, and the town's like, "What? No, my boy here, my boy here can't be a Pokemon. Are you crazy? He's like been doing so much good shit." And Gengar's like, "Yeah, but listen to this, guys. If we kill him, we'll fix the world, right?" And like, you're over here being like, "Guys, no, I've like done so much good shit for you guys. I've like saved your children. I've rebuilt the town." And they're like, "I don't know, bro. I mean, this guy's pretty convincing. I don't know." So you talk with the town, and the town is like, "All right, buddy, here's the dealio. Here's the situation, okay? We're gonna kill you. We're gonna straight up murk your ass. However, you have done nice shit for us. So we will give you one single night to like say your goodbyes, pack your shit, and in the morning, we're murdering you." So you're like, "Okay, fair, I guess. Cool, love that." So yeah, you go to say goodbye to like the last few friends you have, and you're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna go on the run for a little while, figure out what's going on. Maybe we can find Ninetales, fix this situation, and get everything fixed." So like I just wanna like make sure I let you guys know the journey we're about to go on here. So you start at this red dot. All right, this is your little Pokemon town. I don't know if it ever had a name, but this is the little town you live at. And you like wake up early in the morning, and you and your bro start running. You basically like make your way all the way through like Mount Thunder here. You have to go through the volcano. You have to fight like you've already fought. I believe you fought Zapdos by this point already. Yeah, just reminder, you were a starter Pokemon fighting Zapdos with just 2 people. Only get 2 people. So you've already fought Zapdos. You're running west, trying to escape these people. Do you check profiles? Yeah, no, unfortunately I do not check profiles, Lil Fox. That is not something I do, not unless I have a stream going on where I, offer to check. But you start running, you make your way all the way over here. You have to fight Moltres, because, Moltres is angry you interrupted his space. And I believe you have to fight Articuno as well before you get to Ninetales. And like this whole time, you gotta remember, you are on the run. There is an entire town of Pokemon. And not only that, but one of the strongest mystery dungeon teams, that being Alakazam, Tyranitar, and not shown here, but shown here on red, is Charizard. So those 3 are the strongest Pokemon mystery dungeon team in the land. They are also hunting yo ass. So everybody you know and love is hunting you down to murder you because they believe you're causing the apocalypse. But you roll up to Ninetales' house, and you're like, Ninetales, like, I need to know what's going on. Like, why did you turn me into a Pokemon? Like, am I really causing the cataclysm? And Ninetales is like, what? No, I didn't turn you into a Pokemon. And you're like, huh? Yeah, and Ninetales is like, yeah, I didn't turn you into a Pokemon. I also forgot to mention that this whole time you've been having visions of a random ass Gardevoir, who's been like, trying to help figure out the truth with you. Turns out what happened was Gardevoir was the one who like partially shielded Ninetales' curse. I don't know what Ninetales intended to do to the person that touched their tail, but it doesn't sound like getting turned into a Pokemon was the intended effect. It just so happened to be the reduced effect. And yeah, and then it turns out, you learn at some point in this game, Gengar, surprise, surprise, the evil ghost Pokemon, is actually the one who touched Ninetales' tail, and Gardevoir was the one who saved him. By the way, you go back, you explain to the town, like, it's not you who's causing the problems. Like, yes, you are a human turned into a Pokemon, but you're not causing the cataclysm. So you roll back to Xatu, and you guys are like, you're like, Xatu, what's going on? What's causing the cataclysm? And Zatu's like, it's a meteorite. There is a big ass meteorite hurtling towards the planet, and we're all gonna be like wiped like the dinosaurs were. And of course, everybody hears this and they're like, oh, dude, we're so fucked. Like, what are we gonna do? And Zatu's like, well, there's only one creature capable of saving the planet. Can you all guess who it is? Can you guess who's that Pokemon? It's Rayquaza. Rayquaza is the only Pokemon capable of saving the planet, but of course he lives in the sky. So Zatu's like, don't worry, I'll give you guys some magical powers so you don't fall off the clouds. You just have to climb, if I can find it. Here it is, up here. You just have to climb Rayquaza's sky tower, get up to Rayquaza, and convince him to blast the meteorite. And by convince, I mean beat the shit out of him until he destroys the meteorite. He destroys the meteorite, the day is saved, and you learn that the reason you were brought here was to fulfill saving the planet from the meteorite. So you eventually fade away into like a little cloud of light, and everybody cries, and it's very sad. Except by, just the power of friendship. You're brought back and you stay as a Pokemon. There is some more side story after that, like you meet Latias and Latios, you fight some of the other legendaries like Kyogre, Lugia, Mew and Mewtwo, but most of that is just side story, like post story. You don't have to do that unless you really want to, which I did. I did basically all of the post story, got almost every legendary there is possible. But yeah, I love that game. That game was fucking dope. The story was dope. The gameplay was dope. Of course, Pokemon was awesome. I got to play as a giant, like, leaf frog and a fire dragon. Sorry, I died a little bit. I'm eating an apple, and I choked. I got rambling too hard. But I want more games like this. Right? I want more games like this. So I was trying to bring it back to my earlier point. I was trying to figure out today, like, because I want to make like I said, I want to make a magical creature game. Whether that be you catching the creatures, playing as the creatures, whatever. But I was trying to decide whether or not I should go with, like, the Pokemon, Pal World, Temtem, Beastie Ball route of you being some sort of, like, tamer, trainer, what have you person who catches the creatures and then uses them for, like, battles. Whether or not I should make, like, what I was talking about before with, like, the Zoo Empire, where, like, instead of battling the creatures, you're just catching the creatures to, like, make a cool sanctuary type thing, zoo type thing. or if I should go with the mystery dungeon option. Because all of them present their own challenges, right? Because, like, if I go with the creature catcher option, then I'm just gonna be like, you know, I gotta find out how to make it unique compared to, like, Pokemon, compared to Digimon, compared to Palworld, compared to Beastie Ball. Because, like, we all know Pokemon. Pokemon is the OG. You know, that's probably, like, the first creature catcher you think of when you think of creature catcher games. Palworld, most people just think is Pokemon with guns, but it's also survival. Digimon, a lot of people think is a ripoff of Pokemon, but it is its own thing where, like, the Digimon have branching evolution paths that can, like, you can evolve forward and backward, from what I understand. All I know of Digimon is a little bit of the anime and, like, random clips I've seen on TikTok, so I'm not an authority on Digimon. I don't know shit, but from what I know, that is what I know. And of course they get, like, guns and shit. More Pokemon with guns. Damn, we have 2 Pokemon guns. Temtem is an MMO Pokemon-esque game, creature catcher game, but it's always double battles, whereas Pokemon is typically only a singular Pokemon on the field at a time, typically. At least in solo play. I don't know about competitive, but in solo play, it's typically 1 Pokemon on the field versus 2. And then Beastie Ball ditches elemental typing altogether in favor of just having, like, power, spirit, and mind. So every beastie in Beastie Ball has all 3 of those stats at any given time. There's really not, like, a set type for Beastie Ball, like how in Pokemon you can have a fire type, you can have a water type. In Digimon you can have a vaccine type, you can have a virus type. Same with Temtem, you could have a mental type, you could have a crystal type. But Beastie Ball doesn't really do that. Every beastie has a mix of stats. So, like, some beasties, like, they'll all have power, spirit, and mind in terms of attack and defense, but, like, one beastie might have really strong power where but it has, like, really shitty spirit defense. Another beastie might be, like, really strong in spirit and mind, but it might have shit defense in spirit and power. You see what I mean? There's also Cassette Beast 2 and other things like that, but I don't really know those games well enough to speak on them. I've never seen gameplay of them. I just only know of the ones I've played of. So that's the difficulty with the creature catcher, is how do I differentiate myself from, you know, a market that is filled with different types of creature catchers? Because, like, I feel like a lot of us like creature catchers. I mean, who doesn't love to being able to get, like, a cool creature? Then there's this, you know, the Planet Zoo Empire Sanctuary route, which is like, okay, if I'm not battling the creatures, if I'm not making the creatures punch each other, where's the draw of, like, what would be the gameplay loop of catching the creatures? Like, is it solely to put them on display? Like, is there a breeding element, like how in Dragon Veil, like, you could breed, like, a fire and a water dragon, but you'll get a whole new dragon, right? Because in Dragon Veil, let me pull up the types here. Because in Dragon Veil, there is a there's a main set of elements in the game. So I'm gonna ignore all the special types of elements down here, like the D&D type, the gemstone type. We're gonna ignore those ones. We're only gonna go with the base ones, right? So in the base game, the base dragons, you have plant, fire, earth, cold, lightning, water, air, metal, and then later on they brought in light and dark. So essentially in the game, you have 8 base types of dragons, right? And then from there, you would breed other dragons. So I just want you to be aware, there are a shit ton of dragons in Dragon Veil. Like, this has been going on since, like, 2010, 2011. I'm just gonna pull up here, because, I don't know if it'll tell you, like, how many dragons there are. I'm pretty sure there's, like, well over, like, 600 dragons at this point. I just know there's a lot. There's 931 dragons. 931. Technically, there's 936 because this does not include Kairos, Gaia, Saishen, Bahamut, and Tiamat because you cannot hatch those. But just think about that. 931 dragons in Dragonvale. That is a lot of dragons. So many dragons. And I mean, they're all unique too, which is really cool. Like, and unlike Pokemon and Digimon and stuff, from what I know, you can have triple, even quadruple types, like the Ancestor Dragon right here. This one is Earth, Plant, Ice, Earth, Plant, Cold, and Wind. And then, of course, there are some dragons with their own unique typings, like this Alazem is a Sun-type dragon. This one is the Apocalypse Dragon, the first Apocalypse Dragon. You know, Antumbra here is a dark light rift dragon. So, like, I could go the route of, you know, doing what this game did, having, you know, a certain number of elemental dragons or elemental creatures, allowing you to breed said creatures and then resulting in a completely new creature. Like, if I bred my dark and my metal dragon, I would get an acid dragon. Or I would have a chance to get an acid dragon. Because, like, let me, for instance, do this. So, there's the acid dragon, but there's also the Prometheum dragon. Right? So you could get either or. But then I think that runs into the issue of, like, you could essentially keep breeding the same two dragons or two creatures over and over again. But because of the rarity, you might just keep getting the rare creature, which can be kind of frustrating. I know that was really frustrating for me because, like, look at these. The acid dragon alone takes 15 hours to hatch. Or I guess maybe the acid was rare. Usually the longer the time, the rarer the dragon, right? So it looks like Prometheum would have been more common versus the acid dragon, which would have been less common. But either way, like, you would have had to wait for the eggs to hatch. You know, you would have the frustration of, like, breeding the same creatures over and over again, even different combos, but never getting the creature you wanted. Plus, like, I don't know, I just think there's something that's kind of annoying sometimes about games that have real world time, like, stops. Like, when I say 8 hours, I mean this in real world hours. You would have had to wait 8 real world hours, 15 days even, for certain dragons to hatch. And that can be kind of a deterrent to keep people playing, in my eyes. Like, I remember waiting for some of these dragons here to hatch, and I would just get so bored of waiting that I'd forget the game even exists. And granted, that might just be because oh my god, I've been rambling this whole time, and I just noticed I never put it in for just chatting on TikTok. I'm sorry, guys. I've been showing stuff, and I didn't even realize it wasn't showing for you. Hold on. Let me fix this. It's too huge. Hold on. Wrong. There we go. Let's fix it. I'm sorry, guys. Classic Nakar, am I right? Anyway, yeah. So like, yeah, I would be waiting for some of these dragons to hatch, and I just got bored, and I forget the game exists, and I'd go play a new game. Same with Pal World. Like, in Pal World, you also have to wait for the eggs to hatch in real world time. And it's not so much the real world time that's a deterrent, it's how long it is. Like, in Pokemon, I don't know, what would you have to do? Run around for 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes before you got an egg, and then just run around for maybe another, like, 10 minutes, and then boom, you have a new Pokemon. That's fine. That wasn't too long of a wait for me. And oftentimes you could do stuff like with the egg in your party while you were waiting for it to hatch. You could still do battles, you could still progress the story, you know, hunt other Pokemon, stuff like that. Whereas in, like, Dragonvale, for instance, the entire game's gameplay loop was just breeding the dragons. Like, sure, eventually they added in, like, battling and stuff, so you could, like, take your dragons to the Colosseum. But that was only like a once a day thing. Like you couldn't keep battling like Pokemon could. Like once you did your Coliseum for the day, and actually the Coliseum wasn't even a battle. You just put a dragon in there, and then after a certain amount of time, you got your rewards. So like even then, there really wasn't like a battling thing in the Dragonvale game. Like you played some mini games during events like a Dragon Drop thing, the Pachinko, I think it's called, essentially. But beyond that, other than just waiting for the dragon to be bred, there was nothing to do. And I mean, like, same thing with like Planet Zoo and Zoo Empire. Like, yeah, you breed the animal, and at least when it came, I hate to say like this kind of made it better, but with Zoo Empire and Planet Zoo, like the creature eventually dies, so you have a reason to keep breeding, right? Because eventually your lion's gonna get old or it's gonna get sick and it's gonna pass on. Whereas in Dragonvale, they basically last for an eternity. The dragons don't die; you can only sell them. So, like, once you have acquired a dragon of a specific element, you're good. The only reason that there's more to do in this game is because they keep adding dragons. Like, if they stopped at the first original, like, I don't know how many, like let's say they first stopped at 100, 200 dragons, right? Eventually, you're gonna breed all the dragons, and then what's gonna be left for you? Besides, I don't know, watching your dragons roam around their little habitats and breathe their little magical energies and stuff like that. Nothing. The answer is nothing. You'll have all the dragons and then there'll be nothing else to do. So at least when it comes to like the zoo games, there's a little interest in that you have to keep your zoo being stocked. But also it's kind of, it's kind of sad to, get like a magical creature in a game and then it eventually dies. Like that, like, can you imagine like making a Pokemon zoo, right? Like what was it, like Poke Park or Pokemon Ranch, right? And you get like a Skitty or something, right? You get a Skitty, and then you evolve it to a Delcatty, and then after a while, your Delcatty dies. Like it just passes on of old age. Which, like, yeah, would be realistic, but that's sad. That's why in Pokemon they don't, unless you choose to, be a masochist and do a Nuzlocke, Pokemon don't die, they just get knocked out. Or they, in other games, like, they run out of energy. Stuff like that, They don't die, they just get tired and too exhausted to continue. So, like, if I went with the Sanctuary route, then I have to find a middle ground of, like, do I allow the creatures to die or leave or something in order to keep them going? Because I could go with, like, Paleo Pines, which is another option. In case you also haven't seen Paleo Pines, this one is a dinosaur game, but you use your dinosaurs for farming purposes. So the dinosaurs have utility, more or less, but you kind of run into the same problem as the other Sanctuary games, like, zoo games, where, yeah, you eventually will either you'll get all the dinos eventually, and then, like, other than the farming aspect of the game, which, I mean, arguably would keep you engaged, because, the farming never truly ends. You're always, what is it, you're always, like, tilling the fields, you're always planting seeds, you're always watering plants and harvesting them. That never really stops. But the creature aspect, again, of, like, these dinosaurs don't die. They're here forever, and as long as you have a suitable habitat, food, and a dream crystal for them to sleep by, because in this game, the way you catch, quote-unquote, a dinosaur is you give them a dream crystal of the appropriate size. I say catch because this game makes it out so you don't truly ever own the dinosaur. Like, yes, you get to name it, you get to put a saddle on most of them and ride a lot of the creatures or pet them or whatever. But technically speaking, the dinosaur can leave at any time it wants. The only reason it doesn't is because, well, you gave it a nice habitat and it likes the habitat, it likes the free food it gets, right? But if you, shoved it in a tiny, tiny little cage, didn't give it a dream crystal, didn't give it food, then the dinosaur leaves. your farm. It goes away, it runs away. And you can technically go catch it again with the help of Mari, but other than that, you won't encounter that particular dinosaur in the wild again, not unless you get Mari's help. So then you can either go catch a new one or ask Mari to help you bring that one back so you can tame it all over again. But most folks, you know, who are playing this game aren't making unethical dinosaur pens, because what's the point in having a dinosaur farming game where your dinosaurs keep running away? You know? That just makes no sense from a logical standpoint. Let me have a drink of my smoothie while I rant. I made a strawberry banana smoothie. Very good, very good. And then that leads me to the third option that I'm contemplating, which is the mystery dungeon genre, specifically Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, because again, magical creatures. You know, this is the closest thing to having that, would be the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. And I haven't seen any gameplay of other Mystery Dungeon games. I know there are other Mystery Dungeon games, but I never heard about them, never saw gameplay of them. So I don't really know how they work. The only other one I really know about is Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. So yeah, I know there's Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, everybody. Or I guess there's Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo's Dungeon. I'm not exactly sure, but it seems like everybody is the closest one to what I'm thinking of. Because that's what I liked about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, is I liked the challenge of going out, because like, unlike Pokemon or you know, Temtem, like normal gameplay, even stuff like Paleo Pines, the requirements for catching the Pokemon weren't always 100%. You couldn't just toss a ball at them, because the way it worked in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon was you would have to fight them, and you would usually have to, you know, do things like either like kill them in one hit or kill them with a super effective move, stuff like that. And then maybe they would ask to join your team. And even then, once they asked to join your team, that was not the end of it. Because they would ask to join your team, and then unless you had something like an escape orb or something to give them to escape the dungeon, you had to then complete your mission and or escape the dungeon in order to keep your friend. So if you were roaming around the dungeon, right, and say you beat this Phanpy here. You beat the Phanpy, it becomes your friend, you know, you name it, it joins your team. But then you're walking through the dungeon and it gets KO'd, you've lost that Phanpy. You have to go get a new Phanpy. And maybe it's a masochist to me, but I liked that challenge. I loved the challenge of having to, like, find the Pokemon, fight the Pokemon, befriend it, and then escape with it alive. Especially if I was in, like, the middle of a mission, because, like, you could just technically sacrifice the mission and use an escape orb and take your, you know, your newly caught friend out of there. But then, of course, if you do that, you don't get your mission completed. You'll lose out on your money, your items, whatever, your experience points. Or you could drag the Pokemon along with you through the dungeon still, but then you have the risk of it being KO'd and you losing your new friend. So there was some real risk management to that, and I liked that. However, kind of in the same similar vein of like the breeder / catcher thing, sometimes it became frustrating to try and catch a Pokemon, especially like my dreaded, my worst enemy, I would say, when I was in this game was fucking Lugia. So Lugia in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon lived out in the middle of the sea, because Lugia was a post-game Pokemon. So you couldn't get Lugia until after not only after you'd completed the main storyline, right, after you'd taken your trek across the map, got Nine Tails, blasted the meteorite out of the sky, all of that good shit, not only did you have to do that, but if any of you remember the movie Pokemon 2000, you would also have to recruit Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno before you even could recruit Lugia. And on top of that, if recruiting 3 legendary birds was enough, because to preface here, in order to recruit in this game, you couldn't just get a Pokemon at any time, at least in the OG game. No. In the OG game, you had something called friend areas. So in Red and Blue, I'm talking Red and Blue specifically, they got rid of this as far as I'm aware in the later games, or they made some other version. But in Red and Blue, you had friend areas, which you had to buy and or unlock in order to recruit the Pokemon of that area. So like in this version, they called it like Rescue Team Camp here. But in the OG game, it was called the friend area. So like all these little dots you see here, these were different friend areas. And some of them you could unlock by going to Pokemon Square. That was the name of the village. I just saw it. That was the name. So you'd go to Pokemon Square and there was a Pokemon called Wigglytuff who had a store that had friend areas. So you'd go to Wigglytuff and usually for a certain fee of a couple thousand Poke, you would be able to buy a friend area. And some of them didn't unlock until like certain parts of the story, like certain requirements were met. Like some of those you would just get for free. And some of the friend areas, like you would still have to buy, but again, you would have to wait until certain requirements were fulfilled. Usually you progress to a certain point in the story. But in order to get Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno, you would have had to buy their friend area or unlock their friend area first, which I don't believe happened until post-game. So you would have to beat the game, do that, buy the friend area, go back to each of the areas on the map, progress through the map all the way to the end, fight said legendary, and then there was only a chance to, like a small percentage to recruit said legendary. So, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team recruitment rate. So every Pokemon had a recruitment rate. And of course, as I'm sure you can imagine, legendaries had the worst one. And don't worry, recruitment rates got better over time. So it depended mostly on your level. So when you were levels 1 to 29, which was pretty much the main game, it was a 0% bonus, and 30 to 39, 5%, 7.5, all the way up to 24% starting at level 90. However, that wasn't the end of it because you could also unlock things like the friend bow. So the friend bow, when you were holding this, would also increase your recruitment rate by 10%. However, this item was not easy to get because in order to get it, you would need to have a key, go to floor 30 of Mount Faraway, and then open the door in order to get the friend bow. And by the way, if you KO in these dungeons back in this game, I don't know how it was in the future games, but in the old games, if you KO'd in a dungeon, you could lose the items in your bag, including what you were holding. So, say you had gone through all of this effort, because I want you to know, Mount Faraway is a post-game area. Again, another post-game area. I believe it was, if I remember right, Mount Faraway is this one over here, which, by the way, you couldn't get to Mount Faraway until you had beaten Lightning Field, then Fire Field, then Wind Field or Water Field or whatever it was. So you had to beat all 3 of these areas in order to even get to Mount Faraway. Again, all post-game. So you could have done that. You could have beaten all 3 fields, gotten to Mount Faraway, had the key, unlocked the friend bow, put the friend bow on your Pokemon, died in a dungeon, and lost it. and you would have basically had to do it all over again. Yeah, I love the friend bow, but it was also like such a risky item if you weren't confident in your team's abilities. And then of course, in like timed darkness and sky, not the first game, they did include a new IQ skill called fast friend, which would raise your recruitment rate by 5%. So there was that. But basically, until the second games, the first games only had the friend bow. That was essentially your only way of increasing your recruitment rates besides leveling up. So, yeah. For a majority of the game, it was pretty low. And then, let me see here. I'm trying to find, like, the actual rates themselves. Because, like, the bonuses were just the bonuses on top of the normal recruitment. I'm trying to find the actual recruitment rate of the Pokemon before the bonuses. Because I just want you to know, some Pokemon start with a negative modifier. So for instance here, Ivysaur in the first game started with a negative 19%. So basically, until you clear this negative 19%, you could not recruit Ivysaur. So to go back to, I'm going to duplicate the page. To go back to the previous thing, if we go back to Bulbapedia here, in order to have more than that modifier, you would have had to been at the very least level 90 or, let me see, what was it, 10% with the friend bow? You would have need to have been at least level 50 with the friend bow on. So even then, at the very least, level 50 was about as low as you could be with the friend bow, which again, post-game area, and you had the potential to lose it, was as low as you could be. And then some Pokemon, like Venusaur, for instance, have a negative 99.9%. So essentially, these Pokemon are straight up unrecruitable. There is no way in the game, unless you hack the game and change the recruitment rate somehow, that you would be able to legitimately obtain this Pokemon without evolution. Because you could evolve your Pokemon in the post-game. Again, post-game. The entire game you start as a stage 1 Pokemon. But yeah, some of these Pokemon were just super, super tough. So let's get back to legendary birds here. So let's go with Zapdos, since he's the first one you're gonna see. So Zapdos, surprisingly, they all already had a 30% recruitment rate. Which, is only about, like, if you were to fight these guys 10 times, 3 out of 10 times you would recruit the Pokemon. But again, that's still only 30%. That's not a super high percentage. So you would have essentially had to have cleared you could have cleared each dungeon 10 times, but each dungeon is several floors. And Mount Ember back in the old game was like 2 phases. Because you had to climb like the 30 floors of Mount Ember, and then you would have had to climb an additional 3 to 5 at like the peak. And thankfully in those ones, at least, they let you save, right? So at least when it came to, like Mount Ember and stuff, as long as you went to the Kangaskhan statue at the cross between the first and second stages and saved, you could just, like, soft reset your game and catch Moltres that way, assuming you didn't catch any other Pokemon that you wanted to bring back with you, that is. So, like, say you had caught a Magby and you wanted to bring it back with you, but you didn't catch Moltres. You would have either had to soft reset your game and sacrifice your Magby, or whatever Pokemon you caught, to keep catching Moltres, or you would have had to bring that Pokemon back home with you and redone the dungeon all over again. which for like a dungeon that's only like 30, 35 floors, that's not so bad. But then we get to Lugia. So, again, assuming you've done the post game, you've bought Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno's friend area. You have recruited all three of them. You would then unlock a level known as Silver Trench. And Silver Trench is a bitch. Because Silver Trench is a 99 floor dungeon. Not only is it a 99 floor dungeon, there's no save point. So if you got to level 99, you fought Lugia, and you killed it and it didn't get recruited, guess what, buddy? You're climbing all 99 floors again. And you have to keep doing this until you unlock Lugia. Now, I also want to see here, which is, you want to know what's even funnier? Lugia has a 99.9% chance of recruitment. So technically, hi Dan. So technically speaking, you should always recruit Lugia whenever you climb those dungeons. And I did not. I climbed all 99 floors. I beat Lugia, and I didn't get it recruited. And as a kid, oh my god, that absolutely shooketh me to my core, because, like, it was not easy to climb that Pokemon in a dungeon. I think I've seen animations about that. You probably have. We're talking about game concepting and some of the ideas I've had for a game concept, but I wasn't sure what direction to go in, and one of the directions I was thinking of was Mystery Dungeon. And I've been going over the pros and cons of the different concepts I have, because to fast track it for you, Dan, since you just popped in here, I want to make an elemental creature game, like a creature catcher game of some kind, but I'm not sure what flavor of catcher I wanted. So my three options were the classic Pokemon Temtem Beastie Ball Pal World formula, where you get an object, you start with a starter creature, you go out into the world, you beat creatures up, you catch them in a thing, and then you use your new creatures to beat up more creatures. You also modded Crossworld so your Werehog can speak. Nice. So there's the classic Pokemon formula. Pros is, well, it's a pretty established genre. It's easy for people to follow. Cons is trying to differentiate it to make it unique compared to the big two being like Pokemon and Digimon, I would say. Maybe Yokai Watch. It seems like Yokai Watch has gotten pretty popular too. Going to bed, having fun. Okay. Well, then I will get back to my rambling. So anyway, yeah, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, or a Mystery Dungeon type game, is pretty cool, because not only like can you get creature catchers like Pokemon, it gives you unique ways to try to recruit Pokemon. You have tons of areas to explore. You get to be the creature. Who doesn't love to be the creature, Sorry, I still coughing. And of course, you have the versatility of, like, in terms of making the game, as long as you make enough types, to turn into an algorithm of some kind, you essentially have repeatable dungeons to explore forever. Like, you will always have somewhere to explore. That being said, of course, like, there is the frustration of, for some players, of recruiting a creature and then having it get, like, if I were to go with, like, the OG Pokemon way, which is probably what I would do, recruiting the creature and then losing it in a dungeon, or losing your items in the dungeon to recruit said creatures. And same thing with, like, in terms of like recruitment abilities, like versus like say a Pokemon game, there's really only so many ways I feel like you could make it unique compared to like a normal Pokemon game. Maybe you could do it the same, like you could still have it be like, oh, you need to like hit this creature with this specific type of move, or you need to like do this specific maneuver around it, right? Like Beastie Ball has that where it's like in order to recruit some beasties you need to like increase your stat bonuses by 2 stages. You need to inflict them with a certain status. You need to um you know, you need to serve the ball to them like a certain number of times. And I like that. I think that's really unique. Cuz I love unique ways of catching and or evolving creatures. Mostly the evolution. I would say the evolution to me is more about the unique way. Which in a game like this, I don't know how much uniqueness I could get away with evolution in terms of a mystery dungeon game. I feel like that would come off as more of an annoyance than like a point of intrigue like it would in a normal like creature catcher game. So yeah. I don't know, cuz like I love mystery dungeon and I'm sad there's not more mystery dungeon type games. But I'm worried that if I don't use like a normal creature catcher style, then I'll miss out on opportunities like unique ways to evolve creatures. That cuz that's a big point for me. Is I love creature evolution, I love seeing what things become, and I love like the mystery of finding out the ways to get them to change. You know, versus just a simple like, oh, hit level 20 and your small creature becomes a medium creature, right? Like that's fine and all. But like for instance, my probably the most infamous one or famous one, whatever however you feel about it, that I can think of is the way you evolved Inkay into Malamar back in the OG days. And if none of you ever saw that, never encountered an Inkay in Pokemon, Inkay is this little squid guy introduced in Gen 6. That was Unova region. And the way that you would evolve this little guy, right, is when he hit level 30, you had to level him up while your console was upside down. So you would have had to physically turn your DS upside down to play the game in order to evolve Inkay. And I thought that was the dopest shit, because, like, how many people think of turning their console upside down? Like, yeah, some kids might have discovered it by accident by, you know, like sitting up, you know, upside down on like their parents' couch or something and just like happen to be battling with Inkay. But I feel like for the most part, unless you are specifically trying random things, you're either discovering it by accident or you're discovering it not at all. And I love this example. Some people might find it annoying, but I thought it was really, really cool and really unique to get this creature to evolve. And it kind of like it based on Inkay's evolution, it makes sense because like the top of its body here, like you see with all the little dots, when it becomes Malamar, is now on the bottom side. And its tentacles are now the top of its head. So Inkay quite literally evolves into an upside down version of itself, which I thought is hella rad. Now I don't know how I'd accomplish something like that in like my game, but say for instance maybe in order to evolve a creature you would have had to level it up while it knows a certain, you know, move set. Maybe you would have had to, you know, do it in a certain location, and I know Pokemon has done these before. But I still think it's cool, you know. Maybe you have to level it up while you have a specific creature in your party. I don't think I've seen that one done yet. Like your creature can only evolve if it reaches level 35 while you have, you know, X creature in your party. Stuff like that. Maybe you have to be doing like a water battle. Maybe you have to be doing an air battle. Maybe you have to like walk a certain number of steps. I really like those. And then comes the issue if I do any of these versions, because again, I want elemental creatures. I like Beastie Ball and all, but I feel like at some point with only 3 stats, and I don't know if Beastie Ball ever plans on making a sequel at all, but with only 3 stats to work with, eventually you're gonna exhaust a lot of avenues. Now, granted, it might take a while because you have 3 stats, but you technically have 6 because you have the offensive and defensive sides of each stat. So yeah, it might take a while, but I don't know. I feel like with like the smaller pool of stats, it's like harder to work with. And also like mind, body, and spirit, while awesome, are not always intuitive. Like it works for Beastie Ball because again, every creature already has all 3 stats. There's no specific type to them. There's not technically a mind type. There's not technically a power type. They are all of the types all the time, just with different balances. But I like elemental types. And I really like Flight Rising's types. Now, Flight Rising, if I can find how many elements there are, because there's several elements. And I don't know if I would necessarily use like Flight Rising's elements outright. I might change a couple of them, or at least change the names. But I like what they have going on. So if we pull them up here, Flight Rising has 11 different flights. So you have the classics: fire, water, earth, and air, or wind as they call in this game. Then you have the secondary elements being ice, lightning, nature, and plague, and then you have shadow and light. And then finally you have the newest one, which they have as arcane or magic or whatever. Because in the lore, there is lore to this game. So basically, it when the world first formed, you had fire, water, earth, air. Basically everybody knows the 4 elements. And for several millennia, or several years, they were fighting with each other. The earth dragon wanted more mountains. The water dragon wanted more ocean. Yada yada yada. So they essentially like started fighting each other to see who got to have the most of the planet. And their fighting actually caused more dragon types to start. So yeah, they were fighting, doing stuff happened. Like, for instance, water and air as they were fighting, they started making storms. Storms started becoming a thing. And when they made a storm, they eventually created, like, they formed the lightning dragon out of their fight by accident. They didn't mean to make this. Meanwhile, on the other side, fire and earth were fighting. They even said actually that the earth dragon got so mad that when he stomped his foot, that's what caused the planet to tilt. As they say, the earth is on an axis of 23 degrees. So as they were fighting, they started getting a bunch of smoke in the atmosphere, and then the sun was blotted out, and eventually like the southern part of the planet was like put into a darkness that caused it to get so cold that the ice dragon formed, the cold dragon formed. And eventually they started fighting so much that even night and day were getting messed up. So like the energy that they were making from fighting essentially like manifested in the shadows and the lights to make the light and shadow dragon. And like, eventually, they stopped fighting after they saw the creatures they made. And then an enemy from space came, some sort of weird, crazy void creature that looked like it was trying to destroy the world. So they stopped fighting, and they all teamed up together to destroy this darkness, the shade as they called it, the defiling shade, and managed to send them packing. And then they realized that, like, maybe, maybe nobody was right, they shouldn't be fighting. So all 8 of these dragons, because now there were 8, there were the first 4, and then there was light, dark, ice, and lightning, all decided that, like, maybe they shouldn't, screw with the planet anymore. They've kind of done a lot of damage to it, and they should just let the planet be as it do. And also they needed a way to keep this crazy darkness from coming back. So they created a huge pillar up into the sky and essentially, like, fused their bodies, their spirits into the pillar as, like, a giant protection / way to keep them from screwing with the earth anymore. So over time, things started happening, life started springing up on the planet, plants, animals, yada yada. Eventually people came to the planet, evolved onto the planet. And, like, for a long time they were very confused about this weird pillar. They started making religions about it, trying to figure out what it is. They got magic because this planet was filled with magic. And then, like, this prophecy, this prophet came and talked about how, like, if they fuel the engine of fate, they will challenge death and know the true potential of magic. So they eventually started making this huge, crazy engine, huge magical engine. Something happened, like, it didn't work out right. It exploded and it essentially killed all the people, maybe even all the creatures. And out popped another creature. And, like, technically the creature that popped out was the last one, because before the creature popped out, um before the people had come to the planet, nature and plague manifested into their own dragons, and had been battling for a long time, because rot will always destroy trees, but trees will always grow back, kind of thing, right? Anyway, so yeah, they had come into existence. These two were warring for a long time, and then the Arcanist, the last dragon born of the pure magical essence in that engine, came to be. He saw this pillar, saw the cool stars in the sky, and was like, I gotta check that shit out. So he climbed the pillar, despite how long it took him to climb the pillar, because he was a very physically weak dragon. He was a newborn, and it was a very, very tall pillar. Like, it reached up into the stratosphere, atmosphere type pillar. And he eventually got all the way up there, and um his presence alerted the shade to the planet. And so the events of Flight Rising begin after the shade has come back. It shattered the pillar, and now all the dragon gods that were stuck in that pillar have come to, crawl back out and make their own little clans, their flights. And they made dragons in their images, who slowly evolved over time to become their own unique things. But yeah, everybody belongs to a god, to a flight, and that's how it works. And I think the elements for the flights would work well for a creature catcher game. I feel like they're unique enough that, like, you couldn't exactly relate them directly to, like, to Pokemon, to Digimon, to Temtem, to Pal World. But I'm worried about just using them outright because, I don't want to steal. Like, Plague type would be awesome. Arcane type would be awesome. Shadow type, is basically dark type in Pokemon. Light type, I don't know what light type would be comparatively. Because these are also essentially the same types as what Dragonvale has. The exception being that Dragonvale doesn't have a plague type, they have a metal type. And, like, I could just switch out plague for metal. And they also don't have an arcane type. So I think Dragonvale has 10 base elements. which is still plenty to work with. Like Pokemon, I think if I remember right, they have 10 base elements. Pokemon has like 18 currently as it stands. So there's a lot of types, a lot of opportunity, because I also would not want to do more than dual typing, because I feel like, if I were to go like the Dragon Veil route and give like triple, even quad types, I feel like the weaknesses and resistances would get a little crazy. So I think dual type would be about as far as I could go without, the math getting super whack. But yeah. And I kind of already have an idea for like the most equipable? The most equipable what? Top hat. What does that have to do with elements? I am Confucian. Apple. But anyway, yeah, I think rambling about this, that my job has been complete. Okay, I'm glad you accomplished your job. But I think rambling about this has made me realize that like it would be way better to go along with like the typical creature catcher route. But maybe what I could do is, instead of having like a box like Pokemon or Pal World or whatever, I could also make the place where you keep your creatures like a sort of base camp or a ranch of some kind. Like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon's friend areas. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be pretty cool. So yeah, then if that were the case, then I would just have to work on making the creatures and the typings, because there will be a lot of typings. Ideally, I would like to make at least one of every type combo, but that would be easier said than done, especially if I'm going to do like Pokemon, where they have up to 3 evolutions. Because I know, like, typically in Pokemon, nothing evolves beyond stage 3. Once you've hit stage 3, that's the end. Digimon has, like 6 stages, but you can go backwards. So Digimon allows you to devolve your Digimon. Same thing with Beastie Ball. Beastie Ball only has up to 3 stages. I think Yokai Watch also does the same thing, so I think up to 3 would be the max. And yeah, then it would just be a matter of like figuring out like what types should have 3 stages, what types should have 2 stages, what type should have branching evos, because I feel like, in a lot of these games it's kind of a staple to have at least one creature with branching evos, like Eevee in Pokemon, like Spreco in Beastie Ball, giving them the ability to have switch into a different type depending on what you do with them, what you give them, or what stats they have. I feel like that would also be fun. But yeah. Because I already have a bit of the base storyline thought out. Because I had this idea of like kind of keeping in the same vein as Flight Rising, because what they don't tell you outright, you have to read some of the lore books, because is that the land is built upon ley lines, because the way Flight Rising's breeding works is like your dragon's element depends on where it was hatched. So if I go to the the world map here, right? I take a second to look. They made it cool. So the world map has ley lines. And basically like your dragon's element manifests by where it hatches. So for instance, you could have you could breed together a nature dragon and a shadow dragon together, but still have it be a lightning type if you were part of the lightning clan. So like in my case, I'm part of the shadow clan. I know. I'm so unique. My uniqueness knows no bounds. But anyway, like I am part of the shadow clan. So for instance here, like Viridian here, I remember right. He is not. He's a fire type based on his eyes. Hey, just popping in fast. May I mention one of the game concepts I have? Well, Gib, I'm not really going over like game concepts of other people. I'm talking about my game concept or concepts. So I mostly came on here to ramble about this so people can give me opinions on what they think would be the best direction for me to take this game in. Because I think I have now decided, based upon my ramblings, that standard creature catcher would be the best way to go, with the addition, perhaps, of like a sanctuary ranch zoo type thing for you to store your creatures in versus like a box or a PC or, you know, whatever those games have. Because to kind of give you the sense of what was going on here, Gib, I would like to make an elemental creature catcher game or collector game, elemental creature collector game, but I wasn't sure if I should go along the vein of typical creature catcher like Pokemon, Palworld, Digimon, yada yada yada. If I should go with like a zoo type game like Planet Zoo, Zoo Empire, Paleo Pines, Dragon Vale, where instead of like catching the creature for battling purposes, you acquire the creature for like showcasing / breeding purposes. Or if I was gonna go with Mystery Dungeon, you're gonna be lurking. I recommend putting your ear to the ground for creature collector patent drama. Oh yeah, no, I'm keeping an eye out on that. I've been definitely up to date on at least Palworld for sure. But yeah, so I was just going over how the ley lines work in this game. I don't, because that would be part of the lore of my game is ley lines. Not in the same vein as how Flight Rising here works. But yeah, to continue what I was saying, so like Viridian here, he is a fire dragon because in the way Flight Rising works, the way you tell a dragon's element is via its eye color. So all fire dragons have like orange eyes, all water dragons have deep blue eyes, yada yada. So Viridian is a fire dragon, and Hikari here is a lightning dragon. So like say for instance, ignore the fact that they're both male first of all, but say like I was able to breed Viridian with Hikari. If I were to breed Viridian with Hikari right now, I would still end up with a Shadow Dragon because I am part of the Shadow Clan. My nesting grounds are in the Shadow Clan. Actually, speaking of right now, look, all my dragons. Oh, that one got really cool eyes. It got primal eyes. Hell yeah. It's very, very rare. Very cool. Nintendo's patent is can't both be auto or manual control? That makes absolutely no fucking sense. How are you supposed to do anything if you can't manually control the creature? Like, the auto thing, I guess, it's still stupid, but I guess I could understand it. But the manual control, that's just dumb. That's just fucking stupid. I mean, and like, granted though, Gib, it seems right now, not Beastie Ball, oh, you can't have both in a game. Oh, I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have like mine would be more akin to the old school Pokemon game. Or like Beastie Ball. Like for instance, in Beastie Ball, yes, your creatures follow you like when you're running around the overworld, but they don't actually fight anything. No fights begin until you actually like walk up to the creature or engage the trainer, or a tamer, I guess, is technically what they call in that game. And then you have your battle on a volleyball court. Now, granted, I would have to see what my game does, because I feel like I kind of style the UI kind of like, you know, JRPGs in a way. Like, I'm trying to think of like an example of a game where you well, I mean, frankly, if I were to show you the style, it would probably be if I go to the Coliseum here in Flight Rising. We go to a monster battle. Just go to any monster battle. I'm not gonna really fight here, but it would be like this, right? Where you would have your creature or creatures. I don't know how many creatures I would have on the field at one time yet. That would be something I have to think about in terms of gameplay on one side of the screen, and the enemy creature or creatures on the other side of the screen, like so. I feel like yeah, it's kind of like maybe like old school Final Fantasy or like whatever that Gumball game was, maybe like that Amazing World of Gumball parody. But yeah, so there wouldn't be no auto battles. The only way I could see of this having like an auto battle feature is if you toggled it on and just let the game fight for you. But that would be something I'd have to think about. I feel like that would kind of take the fun out of playing the game, personally. But I don't know. I mean, I do play my fair share. I have played my fair share of auto battlers in the past. But yeah, at least the battle screen would look something like this. How the UI for like the character's health versus the moves you could use. I would have to think about how to handle that and the targeting system, because much like Pokemon, you would either be able to target one creature or multiple creatures depending on your move set you're using. But that is something more of the nitty gritty. But yeah, essentially what my game would involve around is you are some sort of catcher. I'm going to say catcher right now because I don't have a term yet, nor do I know what these creatures will be per se. But you will capture these creatures, and your job is essentially you find out that the ley lines that basically give everything energy in this world are being corrupted by some malevolent force. And then you take it upon yourself to travel around the world to the like 10 or so different primordial, like the 10 or so different like master crystals around the world, like the main power sources of each of these, the ley lines energies, and fight the primordial deity associated with each thing. Kind of like back to the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon thing, kind of like how Primal Dialga got corrupted and like as a result time was being messed with because his power was deteriorating. It would be kind of like that. And that would also explain like why the creatures in the world would also be, aggressive towards you, would be, willing to engage you in battle, not necessarily because they like to battle, but because they've gone especially violent due to the corruption. Something along those lines. I don't know. I just really like the idea of like traveling around to the primordial crystals. So instead of having like gym badges per se, like some of the other things, like how Beastie Ball has coach fights and Pokemon has gym badges and stuff like that, the way you would increase your, whether it be like, I don't know, your status, your power, your ability to control creatures, would basically be like cleansing these crystals and gaining pieces of these crystals in order to like increase your overall like ability to control said creatures. I feel like would make more sense in lore. But again, I'd have to flesh that out. I have to even start designing the creatures, designing how the game is going to play, and then I can worry more about how the lore of the game is supposed to work. Because if the game isn't fun, then like there's no sense in me like taking all this time to make, super intricate lore for the world if you play my game and it's absolute dog shit. Right? So gotta focus, gotta do priorities first. Focus on what's fun first, and then focus on the finer details like the world building and stuff. Yeah. I think that is about it for my rant. So yeah. I think then the next part, though, if I truly want to actually go on with making this game, is not only being able to either code or like figure out how to fix code enough for my purposes, because like I said, I can't code to save my life. I am terrible at coding. I've tried. and I just can't seem to wrap my head around it. I don't know what it is, but I have a very hard time trying to code. I can definitely come up with creature designs, but like the actual like statistics and mechanics behind them, like stat types and stuff, might be easier said than done. You know? So that is something I'll have to think about too. Because especially too, like, I can't speak for Digimon. I really wish I knew more about Digimon than I do. Because, like, I know in Pokemon have, like, physical attack and defense, special attack and defense, speed and health stats, right? Those are basically, like, the main 6 stats your Pokemon always has, regardless of whatever type it is or whatever level it is. But on top of that, they also have things like abilities. So, like, I think most of us know that, like, every starter Pokemon always starts with, like, Blaze, where when its health reaches a certain level, then its fire attacks increase. It's the same thing with the water type, same thing with the grass type, but for their respective elements. So then comes the question of, like, do my creatures have abilities? And if so, like, how do those abilities work? Because I believe in Beastie Ball, they have abilities, but their abilities are more or less relevant to, like, the fighting style they have. Like, so for instance, like, I have Bandicraft here. He's mine. And they have something called traits, which is, like, their equivalent of abilities. Which is, like, for instance, Bandicraft here, when he had, for the typical one, you'll get full focus. Ah, it's a poop and run! Ah, get down! Thank you, Travis. Glad you could pop in for a second. But yeah, so Bandicraft here, his ability, his trait, whatever you wish to call it, is, that when his attacks will do 50% more damage when his stamina is below 30, or you can get the recessive trait, which is when he uses volley, your ally shifts to the net, so you wouldn't have to use, like, forward volley, stuff like that, right? And, like, I'm trying to remember. I gotta look at, like, the pals list. Let's see if Pal World, because it's been a hot minute since I played Pal World. I don't. Lamball. Let's get our boy Lamball. Got that. Oh yeah, they have, like, oh, what do they have? I don't think they have abilities per se, but they have, like, oh, they have partner skills. That's what theirs are. So, like, Lamball here, can be picked up as a shield. But then they also have passives that you can breed into them. So that's another option. I could have something like a special ability or a special skill, and or I could have, like, passives that you could pass along to them. Because I don't know if pals have, like, natures that affect their stats like Pokemon does, and Beastie Ball does not have natures. Like, they don't have, Beastie Balls who are hardy, Beastie Balls who are beasties who are, quirky, stuff like Pokemon does. And I don't think I'd want that either. I feel like natures would complicate things too much. Let me see what about Pal World? Or not Pal World, Temtem. Like, let's see if Temtem has natures or stuff. Like, because, yeah, they also have basically the same stats as Pokemon, just for different amounts. So, yeah, they also have traits. But, yeah, it seems like they also do not have natures either. So, I feel like traits or abilities, whatever you wish to call them, would probably be something that I would keep in. Natures, I don't think so. I don't know about, like, things like IV versus EV, or, like, genetic traits versus trained traits. that might be something too. Like if I want to have this game be able to have a competitive scene, then that would, probably be something important to have, because, those little boosts would really helpful. But yeah, then I'll have to think of a breeding system, and that's not something important right now. My main important thing is getting a solid gameplay loop down, like making sure the type matchups work. Which shouldn't be too hard. It's probably going to be pretty similar to Pokemon overall. I mean, certain things just make sense. Water beats fire, fire beats grass or plant or nature, nature beats water. Those matchups make sense. But if I were to go along with this, like, I don't know, maybe like fire and light are like either neutral or like resistant to each other. Maybe one is stronger against the other one. I'm not sure how that would work. And I'd have to, think about how those types of abilities would play into each other, because like most of the elements, at least fire, earth, ice, plant, and water and air tend to all be pretty straightforward. In terms of like which ones are weaker than each other, which ones are stronger than each other. Like, I mean, same with like ice freezing water makes sense to me as to why ice would be strong against water, or at the very least like not weak to water, But like some of the other ones, like plague, for instance, if I were to keep like plague type, like Flight Rising has, because like Pal World has like toxic type, and Pokemon has like poison type. So like, would it be kind of similar to like Pokemon, where like I mean, plague, based on the lore of Flight Rising, makes sense to be strong against grass, or they make the sense to be strong against each other, because it's kind of cyclical, right? Like again, like rot will kill plants, but plants will usually come back from the rot. They'll grow again because rotted plants make great fertilizer. But I think in Pokemon, like poison is strong against grass types, but grass types are not strong against poison types. Stuff like that. And then like, where does arcane fit into this? Because like, in my eyes, like if I were to use arcane as a type, or magic as a type, whatever you want to call it, to me it kind of seems like it'd be in terms of Pokemon, it would be a mix of like psychic and fairy. So would it have like the same buffs and debuffs as like psychic and fairy? Would it have some but not the other? Because like, what makes sense to be strong against magic? Like, I mean, I guess you could say like dark magic is stronger than normal magic, or shadow, or whatever you want to call it. But I feel like you could also just as likely argue that like magic is stronger than like evil and darkness, and therefore, could beat it. But I feel like depending on like the elemental chart I make, I will have to see, because I feel like it would be kind of shitty to end up with like Pokemon's ice type, which is, basically weak to like half the types in Pokemon, I want to make sure that like, a thing I would like to balance is to try to make sure that most creatures are not like definitively worse than other creatures. Like, I feel like in Pokemon, like, what is it, grass ice is like the worst type combo to have, because of how many weaknesses both types have. Versus like, I feel like Corviknight's like flying steel type or something is a great combo, because it's just so resistant to nearly everything in Pokemon, right? Yeah, like based on the type resistance, I feel like you could argue that some types are objectively better than others, at least solely based on typing, that is, not including things like abilities, and other things like speed stats, health stats, etc., etc. So yeah, that's just something I'm gonna have to think about. But if, if you guys think that this sounds like a cool idea and you have ideas, you should like totally join the Discord and tell me about it. I have a suggestions channel because I think of about rambled all I needed to ramble. And I hope you you guys didn't mind my rambling for 2 hours about the various mechanics of creature collector games and the pros and cons of them in terms of making your own game or me making my own game if I make this game. I want to stress that this is a big if, because even if I make concept art, even if I make lore, even if I make game mechanics, I'm not really good enough at coding to like make a demo to actually play. So unless I can either get good at coding or find a way to make a demo easily that's not AI. I refuse to use AI. But yeah, unless I can find a way to make a demo or get somebody to help me make the demo, this project will probably never get off the ground. Speaking of projects, I actually need to work on my werewolf fighting game at one point, which maybe is a stream we could do one of these days. Working on animating my werewolf, because that one I kind of coded enough to be semi-functional. Anyway, let me go ahead and turn these windows off here since we're getting ready to wrap it up. Yeah, I've ranted all I've ranted. And if you like any of the games I ranted about, you should totally go and check them out. Like, all of these games are really solid, especially if you are a creature collector lover like myself. So again, those were Dragon Veil, that can be found on mobile, like your iPhone or your Android. We all know Pokemon, we all know Digimon, I feel like. Beastie Ball is an early access indie game, also very solid. I've been playing it a lot. We'll be playing more of it on this channel, because we do have a playthrough of that going right now, and I would like to hopefully finish it. I finished it on my personal time, my own personal save, and oh my god, you guys need to see the ending. I am like dedicated to making you guys see that ending. It was the dopest shit. What else was there? I mean, I mentioned Yokai Watch. That's another popular one. Pal World, I imagine we almost all of us know Pal World, whether or not it's because we play it or because of all the Nintendo versus Pal World patents going around. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, also a great game. Paleo Pines, another indie game you can get on Steam. Also solid, especially if you are a dinosaur lover. Dinosaurs are fantastic, and you should totally collect dinosaurs. They're fucking cool. I mean, I'm dying. There was also Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. Shamanic! Oh my god, welcome in! We were just talking about my concept for a creature collector game that I have many, many inspirations for. But I want to make a Pokemon-esque creature collection game based around you collecting these creatures to cleanse crystals of their corrupt primordial entities and, like, save the world. Classic shit. We love that stuff. But yeah, I was talking about all the games I mentioned that I marked as inspiration, Paleo Pines being one of them, and if you have not played it, you should play it. I'm telling you right now, Paleo Pines is fantastic. It's so cute. The dinosaurs are so cute, and I think they're gonna add a Spinosaur. I'm a big Spinosauridae fan. Let's go Baryonyx. Whoop. Let me see what else is there. Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. I have yet to play that, but like I said, again. So may I tangent over the tangent you did? Sure, why not? I mean, hell, I'll keep this stream going. I was only gonna, like, skeet out because I'm like, damn, I already talked about all my concepts shit. I don't have anything else to talk about. You're working through Paleo Pines. Actually, how far have you gotten, Shamanic? Tell me. I want to judge your dinosaurs. Let me judge your dinosaurs. How many dinosaurs do you have? Have you collected all the dinosaurs yet? Hmm? If not, you should. Because they're all adorable and cute, and you should definitely get baryonyx. Not because I'm a baryonyx. Like that. Why would that be the case? But you should definitely get baryonyx. Baryonyx is fucking dope. Only ultra rare I got is albino centrosaurus. Oh, you know what? Actually, Shamanic, you make me want to break out my paleo pines right now. I can show you my dinosaurs because I don't know if you've seen my dinosaurs. Okay, so the equivalent thematically is Pokerman for an arcane type is actually dragon. Ooh. Yeah, I guess that's true. But I feel like thematically, like, I guess technically you could tie in like dragon, fairy, and psychic all into one type. Do it. Okay, hold on, guys. Let me switch this over. We're gonna switch over to Paleo Pines, and I will showcase my dinosaurs both on the stream playthrough we've done and my personal. So give me just a moment to launch the game. But yeah. But then again, Gib, we run into the problem of like what would be the type weaknesses versus resistances, because I don't want to make my goal would be to make one type not super resistant to the. Thank you for the howls, Shamanic. Oh, I died. All right, hold on. I got started. Let me studio mode. Give me a second. Oh, woo! Get supported, nerd. Oh. I was like, where am I? Hold on. Game audio. Paleo Pine. Game. Paleo Pine. Okay, let us switch. Let me make sure. Whoa, where am I? Where's my VTube studio? Oh, I remember. I turned it off. Hold on. La 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 la. Yeah. Boom. Okay, I gotta make myself smaller. Come on. A little smaller so we can see Paleo Pines. Our stream now! Our stream! Yeah! Oh yeah! DLC, you say? Ooh. What do you mean I don't have these installed? Well, I'm gonna have to install these later. I'm gonna have to remember. Don't let me forget. Anyway. I believe I named these files the worst names ever because the only difference, they look exactly the same character. The only difference is one has an L and one doesn't. And I believe this one is the stream one. Hold on, this was done in 2024. No, this is the stream one. Let's find out. We're gonna find out. I can tell you based on what my dinosaur is that I'm riding, or, you know, some of the names. No, this is my personal. Okay, back, I say. So the more recent one was the personal one. Load. Okay, so this was the stream one from last year. God, was it already a year? Holy shit. Anyway, let's start with the stream one because you guys will be the most familiar. Ley lines are cool, but the main thing about them is there's a central spot where they either flow or branch out in a section where their influence is either weaker or not present. Yes, exactly. I was kind of thinking that. Let me pause this before so I can explain my thought process. Because, like, I do want there to be a central place that each of them is, like, getting their energies from. And my idea was that, like, kind of like in Pokemon where, like, usually certain types will be found in certain areas. Like, a lot of the times you will find bug types in forests and, you know, plains and stuff. You will find grass types in similar areas, water types near the water. You know, fire types usually where it's hot, like a desert or a volcano or something, etc., etc. That would be kind of my idea of how these creatures had gotten their, had originally obtained their elemental affinities. Now, granted, they might not necessarily, like, strictly be near those areas anymore, because, again, like you were saying, ley lines typically have areas where they either have stronger magics or weaker magics, but dead or ghost type equal for where there's weaker influence, or maybe a beast type that's more brutalic. I was debating that because I was like, I know in I don't remember in Power, but I know in Temtem and Pokemon there is neutral and normal types specifically, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to add some sort of like normal basic type like like neutral and normals, or if I wanted to go with strictly elemental, because I feel like, I don't know, I worry that like in a game that involves ley lines where technically the entire planet is imbued with magic, or at least the entire continent that we're on is imbued with magic, would it make sense to have creatures that straight up don't have elemental affinities at all? Because, like, I feel like on the one hand, you could argue, like, yes, because, like, you were saying how in some spaces ley lines have weaker influence, and therefore maybe the creatures that lived there didn't pick up on this elemental affinity, or, like, you could say, like, technically they have all of them, you know? Void element, that is true, that is true. So you could argue that, but I also worry that, like, you could argue that, like, well, if the entire planet is imbued with elemental energies, does it truly make sense for a creature to have nothing? You know? So I feel like, you know, there's the possibility to go either way with that kind of option. Now, Void Element, yes, could technically fill in that interpretation. To be nothing is to be something. True. But yeah, then of course, again, like in terms of mechanics, like flavor wise, like in lore, I feel like I could make that work either way. Whether it being saying like these creatures never obtained an elemental affinity, or like they have all of the elemental affinities but like equally mixed. Or but then you have to think of like resistances or lack thereof. Like, could it be that like non-elemental types just truly have no resistances and no strengths? It could be seen as possibly no true complete alignment, or could also be foreign. Yeah, like I was saying, like you could argue that like being a neutral type is just you either have none of the elements or you have essentially an even mixture of all of the elements. But like I know like in Pokemon, like let me hold on, let me pull up the Temtem type chart, because I know in Pokemon there's only like 2 resistances slash immunities that normal has, that being that normal types are immune to ghost types and weak to fighting types, right? And then in Temtem, normal types are both strong and weak against mental types, which is like their equivalent of a psychic type, right? But beyond that, they have no real resistances or weaknesses. And it's the same type that they're resistant slash weak to, versus Pokemon, where they're immune to ghosts, but strong against, or immune to ghosts, but weak to fighters. Which kind of makes sense, you know, like normal Joe Schmo is not going to stand a chance in a fight against like Bruce Lee, or, you know, like a WWE wrestler or something like that. Well, maybe ignore the WWE wrestler, but if you're possibly trying to do this with game engine, my idea would probably be to do it in Unity, just because 1, I'm the most familiar with Unity, and 2, like from what I was taught in my game college, this might not be true nowadays, but when I was in college, I was taught that generally speaking, Unity is better for 2D games, whereas Unreal Engine is better for 3D. And if I were to make this game, it would most likely be in 2D, just because that's what I'm more comfortable with. Let me have a smoothie. And don't worry about the tutorials, Gib. I've watched plenty of tutorials. I mean, that's what I was trained in back in school. Something about coding does not work in my brain. Wait a minute. Hold on. Where's my journal? That's Billy. Who are you? When did I get you? Ah, okay, I see. Okay. I was like, wait a minute. I think I remember what happened. I might have named him OG Billy because that was the one that got away TM. But yeah. So Shamonic, if you're still there, I can show you my Dinosaurs. I believe the ad has ended now. I see that there was an ad. But I can show you my Dinosaurs. So it looks like I actually have 2 Gallimimuses in this one, which is kind of silly, but okay. Yeah. So this is Billy, the piss bird. I'm sure you can see why. Then we have Mandarin, my Psittacosaurus. I'm gonna have to try to run around. I can see them all. I have a lot of dinosaurs, but I think I have even more in my personal. This is Todd, our Postosuchus. Unity is better for game mechanics, Unreal is better for graphic from what I understand. Yeah, exactly. Especially for 3D. Meanwhile, Godot, what I switched to use actions is confusing to say the least. I know Rune was mentioning I could try to use Godot, but I don't know if I'd want that. Tango the Ankylosaurus, Steve the Styracosaurus. We love Steve. We have OG Billy, because I believe this is the one we were supposed to have. But he got away, because I fucked up. I think I fucked up a cutscene. We have Perfecto the Werosaurus. Of course, Lucky, everybody knows Lucky. Building something here, but I never finished it. And it's building, but never finished it. There yet. I did see there was a little guy running around here somewhere. I'll find him. Let's go to the backside, see what we got. The stamina. Triceps the Triceratops. Actually, I think you're the one who named that one, Shamonic. I think you named Triceps. Nothing there. This is Chaz, the Tyrannosaurus. I believe Rune named that one. Rune always comes up with interesting names. Rune, if you're listening, I love your naming schemes. They're just always very, very strange, and I love them. Godot is to Unity as Crit is to Photoshop, free and lighter, but a headache to get everything to work as it does. Yeah, I'd rather just stick with Unity. Jade, the Dimetrodon. Yeah, I think that would just be, in my humble opinion. Yes, my melanistic Utah Raptor, Spook. Yeah, my ultra rare melanistic Utah Raptor. I actually have 2 melanistic creatures in these games. Where's Bean? Bean. I don't know if I remember Bean. Hold on. There's Dialgos. I believe Nate named that one. I'm trying to remember if I had one named Bean or where Bean be, because it might have been on my personal playthrough, perhaps. We have Red Nox, named after Red Nox, who was here when I caught it. I like to let stream name my my dinosaurs. There was a little guy. Oh, there's a little guy. Hold on. There's one of my little guys. I have 2 little guys. Hold on. The green Microraptor. Yes. Here's Bean. Bean's right here. Unhappy helper. I'm sorry, Bean. I know I'm working to get your pen. I was working to get your pen. And then, of course, I think this is the last one for the stream one. This is Coretto, my Archaeopteryx. Hold on, we gotta... What is going on with my helpers here? Is it because they have no food? Is that the problem? Lil Bean! I'll say, you guys have food. I know you have food. I just don't know why you're unhappy right now. That's the problem. I mean, it could be that it's because they don't have the right decor? Hold on. Hold on. I believe they're both found in the forest, right? Archaeopteryx and Microraptor. Okay, so it must just be that they don't have enough of their their environment here. We gotta fix that. That's probably why they're so unhappy. Let's get some fly agarics. All I can do. Don't worry, buddies. I got you. Here you go. Have some shrooms. Ah, it's not enough, I guess. I say, because these houses are built for this environment. Why are you not? I guess I need more. Well, shoot. We'll have to do that probably the next game day. Hold on, boys. We're getting it. Let's take a nappy. Oh, Mecca! Welcome in. Welcome in. We had actually just switched over to Paleo Pines after my little rambling sesh. Welcome in. Let me give you a shout out. What were you doing today? Tell me, tell me. And we will go to sleep and work on my dinosaurs because my poor little streamer sores are very unhappy right now. Hope all is going good. All is going well. I have a strawberry smoothie, a strawberry banana smoothie. I have an apple, just some space engineers. Ah, nice. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what is going on with you. What is going on with you guys? No pen. Oh, they don't have a pen. Well, that explains. Okay, back to another thing. Back to discussion stream is for ability type items would need slots and ID system. IDs. What do you mean like IDs per se? Also, where's my flute? Right, hold on. Come here, buddy. Hello, Safi. Oh, come here. Come here, buddy. I need you to come here. You're supposed to just... Okay, hold on. Here, come on, follow me. Follow me. I need... Okay, this is not working. How about I hop on the dinosaur? Seems to be stuck. So we will bring the dinosaur in here. I need to fix... I didn't realize that some of their pens were fucked up. Oh wait, is this not considered a full pen? Hold on. Because I noticed there is a corner missing, and I'm wondering... That's why. Oh, let me release you. I release you! So it looks like I need to go get one more piece of fence. And then I can put the dinosaurs back, and then I need to figure out why the little guys don't have a pen. For example, say item ID 1 is for nothing, while item ID 3 is for the quick claw, then you would reference the effect. Game, I'm not worried about the coding right now. Right now, my goal is vibes and, like, main gameplay without items. So if I can get the game to work without items first, like the battles make sense, the normal battles are fun to play, then I can worry about code. Or not code, more complex things like items per se. That isn't to say I don't want items, but it wouldn't make sense for me to get items right now. Oh, I don't have enough. To make items in the first place if like it turns out my battles are absolute horseshit and, you know, need a lot of tweaking. Because, like, on the surface, like, I know how Pokemon works elementally wise, for instance. You know, I think most of us all know the elements of Pokemon and how they work. But, like, under the surface, like, the main stats in terms of the math, I got no fucking clue how those work. Like, I understand that, like, higher HP stat means more health and stuff like that, but I don't understand the actual statistics, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Oh, I do have Ensign. This is silly. Why didn't I just use... Aha, okay, now... Well, like the math. Like, the math of how those calculate into things. You know? Does that make sense? So does that mean Avil has the highest stinky stat? Definitely. Okay. So now... Let me make sure everybody's penned now. Okay, good. Everybody has a pen now. That must have been why everybody was so dang cranky. Well, except for... I don't have a pen, so... Can live... Can live in here, I guess. Can I... Oh, can I not? Hello? Unless... Hold on. Who lives in this pen? Because this is... Not Raptor Pack. Ahem. One has Lucky in it. Perfecto? Okay, OG, Billy, Perfecto, and Lucky already all live here. Okay. Everybody has their pens now. Well, that's good. So now I can save this game and make sure everybody's happy. And then I can show you guys my other dinosaurs for the not streamer playthrough. This one. Which needs to involve me leaving. Because apparently I was riding on Stratos at the time. Well, I guess that goes what type is move, the move damage amount, then user element. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, like I know in like in Pokemon, right? I know that generally speaking, like if you use a move that is the same type as your Mon, you get a stab, right? So, like, if I am a fire-type Pokemon using a fire-type move, I get more damage added to that move because of the fact that I am a fire-type. But if, say, like, you know, but then, of course, you also have to remember, like, each move has a base power. So, like, I'm trying to think of, like, a move. I'm gonna make this up off the top of my head. This is probably not the right thing, but, like, let's say Scratch has a base power of 40, right? It's about 1.5 times from what I understand. But exactly, like, I don't know the exact math off the top of my head. I know that, like, if I use a move that is the same type as my type, more damage. And if I don't, it negates it. There's no extra damage. Basically. But then you also, but, like, I don't know how the base power works, because in my mind, right, like, if base power is 40, right, so normally it will do 40 damage, right? If I'm understanding this correctly. Like, if I use a move that's a base power 40, then it will hit the enemy for 40 damage, but that's ignoring, like, defense stat. Because I don't know how defense stat reduces the damage of an incoming move, right? Because that's the whole point of defense, is to reduce damage. So, like, yeah, my Scratch could be a base power of 40, but what if my opponent's defense is, like, 70 out of, I don't know, 200, right? Let's just say that, for instance. Like, does it reduce by a percentage? Does it reduce by, like, a flat rate? That's the nitty-gritty that I don't know. Anyway, dinosaur time. Colgate. This is my Oviraptor. This is Goose, my Dinokairos. I love Goose. Moss, my Troodon. My dog is barking. Hold on. Give me a second, fellas. I'm gonna go check and see why my dog is going crazy. Be right back. Sorry about that. Dog has lost window privileges for the moment. Let me see what I miss. My guess is power times attack stat divided by defense. Ah, for hydrate. Thank you, Gib. I know I just walked up the stairs. And my knees are crunching right now. So attack. Power times attack divided by defense based on how low damage attacks still always deal damage. Ah, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. But that is something I will have to, I mean, for sure work out in order to make the game work, you know? Because I imagine I'm definitely going to do the same thing of, like, having, like, a physical versus elemental energy, you know, defense and, power stats, right? You know, like a physical attack stat versus a physical defense stat type thing. This is Autumn, my Deinonychus. That is my baby Nightingale, Microraptor. I love her colors. And Fog, my Archaeopteryx. A lot of my dinosaurs in this version versus the stream one were built on, like, what I thought looked like the cutest aesthetics and or the rarest. Whereas the ones on stream are, well, whatever stream thought was coolest. Onyx, my melanistic Scaliosaurus, so there's my second ultra rare. Sir William V, my Werosaurus. That was another rune-named one. We have Aqua, my Styracosaurus. And Indigo, my Ankylosaurus. I feel like I have a lot of blue. This one is Killer, the Postosuchus, also named my rune. Want to know how bad it is in Godolland? I just received a notification for someone having managed to make a UI button work after 5 months of learning how its code syntax works. Oh my god. Stratos, you guys saw. That's fucking crazy though. This is, let's go with River, my Soliphasis. Bopsheezy, my Pachycephalosaurus, named after my friend Bopsheezy. But damn, goddamn. Yeah, I think I'd rather switch with Unity and just learn C#. Which I already have a basis of. I know a little bit of C#. I'm not entirely illiterate, but I'm not good at it for sure. Like, I'm not great. Leaf the Triceratops. Welcome back! This is Jester, my Psittacosaurus. Oh, my nose. I will have to wrap up fairly soon, though. It sounds like I'm getting icky. Emerald, my baryonyx, my pride and joy. I love baryonyx. This isn't exactly the colors I wanted, but I like these colors, so I chose this one. Verdigris, or Verdigris, my Tyrannosaurus. I don't know how you technically say it correctly, but I say Verdigris, because in French I learned that gris, or gray, is pronounced gris. Coco, the Kentrosaurus. Olive, the Centrosaurus, not to be confused with the other one. And Zephyr, my Therizinosaurus. I love Zephyr. I like that name. I think it's really cute. And then my latest additions, we have Iron, the Dimetrodon. We have Sora, the Utah Raptor, and Cappuccino, the Velociraptor. And then finally, I think one of my coolest dinosaurs, if you guys know other VTubers, you might recognize this color scheme. This is Redclaw the Sarcosuchus, named after Redclaw, the Tyrannosaurus Rex VTuber. Because I remember when I heard that this color scheme came out, I wanted to go and get my own Sarcosuchus. But now comes the other part of, like, I still have a ton of dinos in this game. At least in my personal one, that I do not own. I own basically every single, field dinosaur beyond the Desmatosuchus, I believe is the only one I don't own right now. And of course, a non-lucky Parasaurolophus. But I'm not worried about that. Oh, and a Corythosaurus. So they need to be in a herd. I think I'll probably stick them with my Triceratops. Well, no, my Triceratops is a pack animal. And then what is my taco? What is my taco? Also a pack. So the Corythosaurus will probably have to go... I might have to switch out the pens then of, like, putting Lucky in the other back pen that's larger and moving the other three to this pen where it's a little smaller, because I can't have more than 3 to a pack. I can't have more than 3. 3 is the max for a pack. But I need a minimum of 4 for a herd, and this one is way too small for a herd, I think. Or is it a minimum of 3 for a herd and a maximum of 3 for a pack? Let me see. What does Lucky's pen say? Unhappy, unhappy, unhappy. And they are herd animals. Yep. Okay, so I will need to get a Corythosaurus and or a Desmatosuchus and move the pens around to make them happier. So let's see. I'm thinking a Desmatosuchus. Desmatosuchus paleo lines. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna cheat because I'm not pretending to not know how to get a Desmatosuchus. What do you need? They like spicy. Well, I do have spicy. I just need to get them spicy foods. And then let us see. What kind of skin would I like for a Desma? Orange is good. Yellow is good. I mean, most of the colors, honestly, are very cute. I kind of like the sand colors, actually. Surprisingly, I don't like a lot of the rare colors. I'll be real. Overall, I'd say it'd be interesting. However, the first few attempts, as with every creative project, will be jank and probably feel bad and require a lot of messing and make it feel good. Well, actually, yeah, I was gonna say, let me see, let me see if I still have the code for my other project, because I can show you that one, too. I'm gonna quit the game for now. Give me a second. I might come back to this. Because, like, I have to see... Oh, my Discord, no. And oh, that's my, that's from... Oh, no, you get to see the behind the scenes of how everything works. Ah! There we go. Let's turn that off. Photoshop. Okay. Give me a second here, because I need to pull up my Unity because I do have a demo. I shouldn't even call it a demo. It is like a really, really, really early alpha of a different game I had that I partially coded myself, partially got help from Rune with. That already has some art in it, some animations. It's pretty jank. And I'm gonna be real, this is like my third or fourth attempt at making this game. So it hasn't progressed very far, but it's got some of the stuff going for it. Have a little smoothie while we're waiting for this to load. Just give it a second. Unity's launching. I'll switch it back to just chatting for the moment since we're not on Paleo Pines. I don't want people confused. Just chatting. Actually, it doesn't. I don't know if it ever switched over because it looks like I never switched Paleo Pines. Whoopsies. Ah, fuck! I gotta log in. Oh, it's been so long. Hold on. Give me a second. Dang it! I hate when stuff logs me out. I get why it makes you log out. Can I click? What is happening? I'm clicking to sign in with my account, and it will not let me press the button. What the hell is going on? Got it. Okay, so I can click. I can't even go back. What the fuck? Hold on. Something's up with Unity, and I don't know what's going on now. And now I'm mad because I want to log the fuck in. Okay. Use my Google. Sign in with my Google. Well, shit. Uni is being acidity? Apparently, because, like, what I'm trying to do, right, is I have a Google account associated with my Unity, right? I won't tell you what it is because it's, you know, it's my Google account. But anyway, I have a Google account, and I'm trying to sign in with Google, and, like, the mouse changes, you know, to the little finger to let you click on it, right? But every time I click on it, nothing happens. I click go to unity.com, and it'll, you know, tell me, like, you know, developer info, choosing an account will redirect you, stuff like that. I try even clicking using another account, and I can't, nothing happens. Hold on. Let me try a different way then. I guess I'm gonna have to, like, log in manually, I suppose. Because if it's not gonna let me use Google, I gotta see if I can do it manually. Oh, I can't spell. Third tries the charm, I suppose. That's stupid. I just want to log in. Okay, Unity. Try again. Okay, it looks like this is the password, so it might, yeah, I think it's just gonna have to be manually logging it. Okay. Unity's launching again. Come on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Am I doing it wrong? Is it? No, okay, I have the hub. I just want you to run, like, log into the hub for me. Come on, girly. Go, girly pop. Okay. Let's log in the manual way. Because if this don't work, then I am out of ideas, and I will give up. Because I won't have the... You need to make some changes. Okay, I think we got it. I think we got it now. I just had to do it the manual way. Yes! Okay. Because I use Unity a lot, actually, for VR chat, but in terms of making my own games, I didn't use it much. Because, again, when I was in college, that was not my, sure. Sorry, it was telling me that it was changed. It was built in an older version, so the only reason I have Unity anymore is for the VCC. Yeah. I got really good with that for a while. I'd probably have to relearn everything I did before. But I can do it again. Like, I know most of how to do VR chat stuff. I just don't use it as much anymore. I haven't gone on VR chat for months, which isn't uncommon for me, but like, I don't know. Like, ever since I started dating Rune, I don't really have as much of a reason to go on VR chat anymore. Like, I'm not really a drinker anymore. So like, let's try that. I'm just gonna brute force it and see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't break it too much. But I don't really drink anymore, and like, since I'm with a partner now, and like, I'm a monogamous, I just want to make it clear why I don't do these things anymore. But it's like, you know, I don't really have a need to go out and party anymore. Like, I've kind of settled down to very typical domestic life, you know? I have no reason, don't really have much of a reason anymore to get drunk on a Friday night, because like, usually on a Friday night, I'm probably watching movies with I've been trying to find reasons to pop on a VRC if some of my other friends like to world hop on VRC and play. Yeah, like, I would do that, but like, I don't really have many friends anymore who play VRC like that. Like, most of my friends just don't play VRC. We'd all rather play something else. And like, this is just a me thing personally, but like, when I play VRC, I want to get in my full body and make it last. So if I'm getting in VRC, I'm in there for about 3 to 4 hours in my full body. And sometimes, like, especially with my headset being really old now, like, it can be a pain to set up because my headset's kind of slightly modded, but it's also really old. So like, it's prone to just crapping out any day, honestly. And once that happens, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Because like, I started VR chat and have been continuously playing VR chat on an Oculus Rift S, because this was back before Oculus was acquired by Meta. And I mean, I still have a Meta account because once Oculus was acquired by Meta, you have to have it. But like, I was started back in the day when there weren't a super ton of options for VR gaming. At least not like good quality ones. Like, I think they were starting to roll out the quests back then, but like, back then, like, you did not want to be a questie on VR chat. Heck, you still don't really want to be a questie on VR chat if you want the optimal experience, because a lot of worlds are just not optimized for quests. You know, a lot of models are not optimized for quests. Then there's me, the desktop mute. Yeah. My friend's a desktopper. I mean, nothing wrong with desktop, don't get me wrong, but like, you guys can at least see the most of the world because you're on PC. Whereas quests, like, yeah, they have the full body, maybe not the full body, but they have like motion tracking, but they're limited to a lot of places, if you're playing cordless, that is. From what I understand nowadays, you can plug your Quest headset directly into your computer and it functions basically the same as like the old, like, corded only VR headsets. Because it seems like, from what I see nowadays, a lot of headsets are moving towards the option of giving you like portable VR experience versus like solely corded. Because most of the OG, like, old school VR chat, you know, full body users use stuff like the Valve Index, or, you know, what was it, like the Vive Pro Eye and stuff. Like, if you really wanted the crazy experience. I used to be limited due to, at the time, a good while back, I was a clunky old laptop. Yeah, I was a laptop for up until about 2020. But I didn't play much VR chat then. I only started playing VR chat once I got a good computer and a headset. Unity is loading. So we're getting there. But like, back then, like, the only truly good experience for VR headsets on VR chat was a corded, big, chunky VR headset. Whereas, like, nowadays, a lot of stuff is moving towards, like, smaller headsets, usually with the option to, like, take your headset on the go versus always having to have a PC. And that's what I'm nervous about. Is, like, I've had the Rift S for so long, and all of my friends have stuck with their old headsets for so long that, like, hell, a lot of them even bought 2 headsets back in the day. Like, I went to go talk to my other friend because, like, my headset's on the way out in terms of, like, its hardware. And I was like, hey, bro, I wanted to ask, like, if you upgraded or were looking at upgrades, like, what you were thinking would be a good headset. He goes, nah, man, I just bought 2 Valve Indexes back in the day. So he just has a secondary Valve Index just sitting in a corner somewhere, like, virtually unused for the day his old Valve Index craps out. So he can just use a quote-unquote new Valve Index. VRC is apparently testing grounds for Android phone usage. Yeah, like now it's getting to the point where you can use it on phones almost. But, like, I'm talking, like, VR full body experience, because that's what I want. Like, if I'm going on to VR chat, it's usually still the party, honestly. I almost never go on VR chat without a drink in my hand. Not to get absolutely sloshed, per se, but, like, I just like having a drink and dancing. Or having a drink and chatting. Like, I tend to hang out a lot if I go on VR chat. I hang out a lot in the bars to listen to interesting conversation or have interesting conversation. And music and dancing and stuff like that. My big thing about VR chat is I really like the community aspect of it, so I'm in a lot of public worlds. Just seeing what kind of crap is going down. Take a shot every time someone says something, oh god, I would be so drunk. God, you want to hear something? I don't know if you'd say, I would say this is idiotic, but do you want to hear a crazy story about one of the times I was in a public world at VR chat, and one of the last times I had ever gone to a public black cat? Because this is a story that is very interesting. So I just want to clarify before I tell you the story. There is going to be sexual content, so be advised. Oh god, it's in light mode. Ugh. I will finish the story and then I will show you the demo there, Gib. I just like to idle around because the occasional friendly chaos. That's so fair. So, one of the last times I ever went to a public black cat, I will get this going while I'm telling the story. So, I went to a public black cat just for the shits and giggles, just as I usually do. I taught someone how to curse in a dead language, so, like, I ain't judging. Oh, no, this is worse. I don't know what happened! I always have Unity in dark mode. Where the how do I change this? Gib, elaborate. How do I change this right now? I need to change it back. While I'm telling the story. So, I went to the public black cat. I'm dicking around for shits and giggles. People are being how they are in a black cat. And, like, I'm, like, downstairs towards, like, the main room where the big bar is, like, standing by the staircase with some people. I don't know either, help! I'll have to look this up. I need to know, because I hate this. I hate... No, that's not it. But yeah. I don't know what's up with... This is legal. So we're sitting around talking, blah, blah, blah. And I start hearing a noise. I start hearing like that kind of noise, right? And I hear this, and you can probably already guess what I was thinking was happening. I'm like, oh man, somebody's, getting crazy with it. And, like, I'm looking around to hear the sound, and, like, you would think it would be somewhere, like, under the stairs or in one of the bathrooms. No. This sound was coming from the ceiling. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I look up, and I shit you not. So from where I was standing on the black cat, I looked slightly to my right. It was, like, a little past the bar. And, like, if you guys know what the black cat's roof looked like, it's very industrial. So there's a lot of, like, piping and, open shit to it. And there is a dude in, like, an e-boy avatar, buck-ass naked, slinging his schlong into one of the pipes in the roof. Like, he is going to town on this pipe. And me and the boys down there are like, yo, is this dog like fucking the pipe? And we're like, not the E-boy on the air pipes, literally. And we're trying, like, we're not so much being like, oh my god, how could he be doing this in a public lobby? We're trying to figure out, is he playing sound effects or is he actually clapping cheeks? You know, whether it be with, solo or somebody else's cheeks. And, like, I'm, like, looking at it, they're like, he's gotta be playing a sound effect, dude. He's gotta be playing a sound effect. I'm like, no. Look at his hip thrust sync up to the sound. That man is not playing sound effects. He is not playing sound effects. And so, yeah, eventually everybody just kind of gathered around the E-boy pipe fucking in the air, being like, yo, get it, my boy, get it, yeah. It just was like, I never went back to a black cat ever since, but that image, that sound will forever be stuck in my head. Oh my god. It was a wild time. And yeah, that is probably a reason why you should never go to a black cat. unless you want an experience. Okay, hold on. I think I figured out how to turn it to dark mode. Give me just a second. Go to preferences. Apparently it's in here somewhere. Editor general. Well, this isn't seem to be how I. This is. It says it's supposed to be in preferences. Where is it? Colors? No, that's not it. Ugh. Turn it back. What version of this is? Oh, wait. I'm on unit. This is 28. So yeah, I might not have the option. That's got to be the weirdest moment. Anyway, I was new speaker discipline when they used a slur in there. Good times. I mean, good for their parent disciplining them. Anyway, let me show you what I'm doing right here. So this game, Gib, is my attempt at remaking sort of. I don't know if you'd call it remaking. Trying to reboot essentially an old game that I used to play on my iPhone called Wolf Boy. It was a very simple game. It was basically an endless fighter game. And the story was super simple. You were a wolf boy. You were walking in the forest of demons with your girlfriend. Don't ask me why you were walking in the forest of demons. But anyway, you were walking in the forest. Your girlfriend gets abducted by a demon. And so you basically just spend the entire game kicking the ass of every demon that comes in your vicinity to try and get her back. Mostly a lot of tomato demons. I don't know why they're tomatoes. Anyway. So part of the gameplay, if the forest got vibes, we gotta walk. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's the only way I can explain it. So, essentially, like, the way the game worked is, for the most part, you spend your time fighting as the boy, but as you defeated monsters, your energy bar, which was the moon, would fill up. And when the moon was full, you could tap the moon, and you would transform into a werewolf for a certain amount of time, and you basically just, powered you up, made you stronger, stuff like that. So I was looking to try and make a similar game. So let's see. Aw, man. I was afraid of that. Yeah, I have a lot of errors. Oh my god. Because, yeah, I don't know what happened to this. I swear I opened this on a different version. I feel like this is wrong. The fact that it's in Unity 2018. It should not be. I feel like it shouldn't be in 2018. But this doesn't look like the normal Unity hub that I have. Third or fourth attempt, yeah. Because, like, I can't see my Unity hub right now because I have fucking this shit in the way. So, I don't know. I can't minimize YouTube Studio without, like, closing the window itself. And every time I look up Unity Hub on my computer, it's not pulling up. Because my hub did not look like that. And I definitely had Unity Hub. Because my Unity didn't look like that. At least I don't think it did. So I don't know what's going on, but anyway, that's all I've got. I used to have a playable demo, but I also was trying to like fuck around with animations, I think, before I stopped working on it. Because I just got frustrated at my lack of skill of being able to code. And like Rune is a coder, but like he already does coding for a living, and he, would come home and work on his coding projects. And I didn't want to bother him with mine, so I'd try to learn it, but things would break, and I wouldn't be sure how to fix it, because I'd fix one thing, it would break another thing. So yeah, I'm not a good coder. Long story short, I'm not a good coder. And I don't really know what to do besides, like, I know it would take time and effort to be a good coder. But, like, I have other things I'd rather learn than coding, namely 3D modeling more. My goal is to eventually make this werewolf you see right here before you into a fully usable VR chat avatar, similar to the style of TokyoZilla. If any of you are familiar with TokyoZilla's work, they make incredible VR chat avatars. Let me pull up a window here for you. You may, if you play VR chat, you may have seen their avies around, so like they probably be familiar to you. My third attempt was a janky gravity-based game that just crashed every time you ran into an obstacle or fell off the side. So I'd say you are more talented. Nah, don't say that. But I hope one day to make not necessarily the same level of detail in terms of texture, but like the fidelity of the avatars. You might have seen these ones around on TikTok right now a lot. These are the newest one, the Hydrages. Dragon with a lot of ears, essentially. But like, I like how they make their models, their bodies. I like their style of fingers. A lot of their quality comes in their texture work because they have incredible texture work. Like, that's how they get a lot of this like fuzzy look to their avies, because this is not modeled in this fuzz look. Heck, some of the scales aren't even modeled in. It's just texture. But like, and like the the shape of the body, I like how they shape the body. Stuff like that. And like I just need to learn how to better model. I mean, you might have also seen tiger bees. Tiger bees are very popular. This is the follower. This is the actual tiger bee. Another popular avatar on yeah, no, it is seriously high grade, and they're only $35. Like, Neo's work is awesome. Like, they are a huge inspiration for my hopefully eventual 3D models. I was looking at the Voxian a lot because I wanted to see how they did like the hard modeling of their fur, specifically around the cheeks. Because like the cheeks of this one are very similar style to what I want Nakara to look like. But also like with the way their textures are, like unless I see an untextured Voxian, or I mean any of their models really, it's hard for me to tell what, because like again, their texture work is just so high quality. It is hard for me to tell what is texture and what is model, right? Like, I honestly, other than like maybe this point here, I believe almost all of this is just texture work. Like the ears are separated from the head. Like I can see the hard modeling of like the cheeks, for instance, like the face cheeks. Like some of the fur on the tail is hard modeled. Some points here and there. Most of like the hair is all hard modeled. A little bit of the back of the neck is hard modeled, but most of it, from what I can tell, based on just looking at it, is texture work. And like, granted, like TokyoZilla's got like multiple people who help. I think like Tokyo does the actual like modeling and texture work of the Abby, if I remember right. And somebody else does like the rigging and the weight painting. Trying to see if they have the credits. But I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. I mean, yeah, like this thing is only 42,000 polygons out of the 70,000 max cap. So overall, this is a really well refined model. Yeah. It is super fucking cool. Oh, they use Poyomi too. Nice. Okay, yeah. Shout out to Mama Jin / Mama Snuppy is the rigger and the one who makes the Visemes. And their girlfriend does the concept work and like helped aid in the direction of this one. Hey, 32-bit. So yeah. So it's not just Tokyozilla who works on this. They have somebody else who does their rigging work for them. But they're the ones who do like the actual model, like sculpting and then modeling of their work. Leave. Go to Blue Sky, I think. I think they're mostly on Blue Sky. And they do more than just 3D modeling. They do some fantastic, like super fantastic art. Like, on God, I wish I was this level of quality. Like, this is fucking incredible. Albedo! I love Albedo. I have a tattoo inspired by Albedo. Like, look at this shit. The colors, the motion. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely they can art and they can model and they make memes, of course. You know, every artist has to make memes. What happened? My baby covered in bites. So like on God, look at these colors. It's so fucking gorgeous, darling. Oh, that's their OC, by the way. Tokyozilla's OC is this Durgo here. Like, chef's kiss. I want to give all my money to Tokyo, but I also don't play VR chat enough to justify buying models. But like the urge, I tell you, to buy like a Voxian or a Zerg, because like I love Voxians, but they are very fox-like, but they're the closest thing to canines next to the Zerg, which is kind of like a wolf dragon thing. Again, also fantastic. I love this. I really want to know how they model their hands. That's something I always struggle with, hands and feet, especially on like well, they have 5 digits like a human, but like the toes. Like here in the Zerg, I can definitely tell like a lot of their fur on the shoulders and stuff are hard modeled, but like I don't know. I'm not super great at like what's the word? What is the user page of the Mona Lisa? Oh, this is Tokyozilla's Blue Sky here. Let me go up if you guys want to take a peek. I highly recommend. Yeah, Tokyozilla at Blue Sky. We'll see them there. This blue Durgo. Definitely check out their stuff. Super fucking cool. Both they're on their Gumroad, also Tokyozilla if you want to check out the models. Because they mostly do a lot of like monstrous looking furries. So like Zergs, Birdiuses, Niorcas. If you want a Shamu Orca looking creature. Like for me it seems like too like a lot of it comes down to like they must have like a certain body style that they already use. And like here's some of the concept art for the Orca. But I think based on what I'm seeing is like they have like a certain body type that they must modify between models, because a lot of their models have a very similar like body shape and size to me, just the difference being like the heads mostly and like things like the fur details and stuff. Like the kaiju is also one I've seen. You can also use some of these avatars for free on VR chat already. But if you want to like modify them, you need to, you know, to buy them. But like, yeah. They have really, really fucking cool models. Carnosaur. I don't often see the Carnosaur used as much. Yeah, like, I don't know how they do it. Like, for me, a lot of it is just coming down to, like, I am not, I've done 3D modeling, but I haven't done enough of it to be really good. And then again, of course, like, I would say, like, a lot of what carries their models, not to say this in, like, a rude way, this is just tends to happen a lot, especially with, like, lower poly models, is the fidelity of their texture work. Because, this isn't to, like, throw shade or anything, because their texture work is immaculate. But I'm sure, like, if you took away the textures and looked at the model, like, just the model underneath, it would not, seem nearly as cool as it is with the textures, because that's just how models are. Because, like, I can see based on the edges, like, there's nothing going on the edges, especially on their whelpling here. Other than, like, the scale work stuff, there's nothing coming off of it, which tells me that, like, this is texture work and not, like, hard modeled scales. Which makes sense because, like, when it comes to making assets for a video game, you want to try to save space wherever you can. So if you can make something into a texture detail versus a model detail, you should always go for texture detail over modeling extra parts. Because that will just save you in the long run, make your models more optimized. Because in, like, every video game, the goal is to make models as low poly as possible while still maintaining a lot of detail. And that might mean making cuts to certain objects or models versus, like, the player character, because, obviously you want your player character to be the most detailed, because that is what your player is most likely going to be looking at for the majority of the game, right? You wouldn't want a shitty low poly main character when you could cut the budget for, like objects, for instance, like crates. Crates are super low poly. Transparent items are terrible for texture quality. Yes. Yeah, opacity, like, keeping things opaque is better. Fragment shares have entered the chat. I mean, of course, these are all general rules, and, like, it depends on your game and what you're making it out of. So, like, this is generally speaking for, like, a 3D game. You're not going to have the same issues to worry about in a 2D game versus a 3D game, because that does not require nearly as much data. Oh yeah, and they also do, like, you can have, if you don't want the model, you can get bases, so you can color in your own stuff too. Like, here's a whelpling if you want to, color in your own whelpling and make your own character. Boom, bam. Same thing here. You want a Zerg? Boom, have a Zerg. I kind of would like to sell stuff like this one day, like the bases and stuff, but first I gotta get my lazy button gear. I got commissions to do first, which is what I'll have to be focusing on tomorrow and this weekend. But yeah, it is 11 now, so I think it is time for me to finally call it quits for the day. What do you say, chat? What do you say? It went on longer than I was expecting, and I thank you guys for, coming in and joining. I really enjoyed the conversations we had. Maybe I'll have to do some more just chatting streams in the future. I don't know what my topics will be, but, it's not often I get to do a just chatting, so this was pretty fun to do for once. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. But I am gonna wrap it up. Fair enough, I kind of drag it out a bit. I mean, like, I appreciate it. Nakara podcast incoming. God, I could never run a podcast. Not because I can't talk, but I need a topic to talk about. And I don't always have the topics. So, I mean, if you give me topics, I will talk about them. Absolutely. Whether or not I'm right about those topics or not is up for debate, but, I can only tell you from my experience and what I have done in the past, what I have learned, type shit, Like I said, take any advice I give you guys about these video games with a grain of salt, because I got my degree in game art and animation specifically, and I got that degree 4 years ago, just over 4 years ago now. So, and I haven't been back in the industry since I graduated, so things have definitely changed since I was learning how to make video games 4 years ago. And also, I focus primarily on 2D work. I've been trying to break more into 3D. In fact, actually, I have one more thing to show you guys before I go. Before we call it quits for today. Because speaking about 3D just reminded me of a little side project I did. Because if you guys remember earlier in the stream, I was talking about Beastie Ball. Which is another creature collector game. We're circling back, boys. That I was using as inspiration for my potential game. So I wanted to try and make my own version, like 3D model, because Beastie Ball is 2D. I just want to specify that. Beastie Ball is a 2D game. Hold on. Sorry, my schnoz was running. But anyway, Beastie Ball is a 2D game, and I wanted to try to break into 3D modeling more, so I wanted to find something like that I could model easily from Beastie Ball, and Beastie Ball is a pretty simple asset game already. So I was looking at a creature called a Platena, which is basically just a electric-looking platypus. So let me switch the screen here really quick. I will show you the actual Platena, and then I will show you the model again. So this little guy is Platena here, right? He's super simple. He is a little bluish, purplish platypus in an eggshell with some spikes. That's it. Very simple, very easy. So I modeled Platena. As best I could, I tried to keep it low poly. I tried to keep the same vibe, right? He is a goober and I love him. So that was my goal, was to model my own Platena, and not only model it, but I rigged it. And not only did I rig it, I animated it. Try to see. Oh, hold on. Can I see my, yeah, there we go. 150. So I base this off of the game's idle. So the idle based on the game is over here on the left. This was my screen to get it to work. So this is essentially the view you would see in the game of Platena when he's doing his little idle. Is a very simple little idle. I added some tail waggle because in the game there's not much tail waggle, but I just thought it would look he's just a very simple little guy, but I want to try to get my hand at like modeling and rigging animations again. And then I was trying to make a run for him, and I only got like the basic pose, and that was about it. I guess I started on it. I was trying to make it based on there's actually a website that I was using to do this, because thankfully this website is super good. I'm not fully positive. Are rigging lighter or animation via shape keys? No. They are not. Not in this one anyway. This animation is solely bone animation. So typically what you're supposed to have on a given model, I did this a very primitive way, which is I did animation on the bones directly. So typically what you're supposed to have is what are called NURBS curves, or just curves in here, like circles and stuff, that you would then parent to the bone, and you would animate the controllers or the curves. And that is how you would control the animation. And a lot of times, like, you can add shape keys to those curves. Like, I have seen models where like they'll have like just a square with like a circle inside, and depending on where you move that circle will affect the shape keys. But I did this in a very, super simple, easy baby's first animation type of way. Now, is this a perfect model or rigging? Absolutely not. Like, I definitely could have done more with the feet. I feel like I fucked up on the feet a lot. I meant, is bone animation lighter or shape keys? What do you mean lighter? I don't know what lighter means. It's not shape keys. Bone animation is like you go into pose mode, you click on bone, you move bone, you press I to put in your keyframe, and then that is your frame. So now that I have pressed I on the first frame, you will see when he pops back, he's down there now. We don't want that, because that doesn't look right. In Maya, I call them NURBS curves because in Maya, they are called NURBS curves, which is the standard, industry standard. Less memory usage, less storage. I honestly don't know. I learned bone animation for Maya back in college. We didn't mess a lot with shape keys because they did not teach us how to rig shape keys very much, or how to use them in animation. Like, the only model I used, like, shape keys on a bit was my, was the elf girl that we got for free. But she was already pre-made. As for how much memory usage it uses, they didn't give us, they didn't really care. They didn't really care to tell us how much memory usage it taught us. They just told us that this is the industry standard. This is how it is done. You know, who cares about memory usage? Because I mean, most AAA games, like, their budget is astronomical, so that wasn't really a concern for us. Nor was it a concern for our professors to teach us. And yes, yeah, that is how you spell it. 32-bit is NURBS with a U. Now, why it's called NURBS curves, I don't know. That is just what I know it is called. So, there are 3D B-spline surfaces that can be polygonized at specific intervals. Yes! Ah, that's why they're called NURBS curves. The more you know. But yeah. So, that was my, after, 84,000 fucking years, was my first attempt at making a semi-decent model that I could animate, based on a game. Because I used the, come on. Trying to pull up the Beastiepedia here. There we go. I use this here, because the Beastiepedia is a, oh my god, Bop, this is so hilarious, because I was getting ready to raid you and Mylon, because I was getting to, oh no, everybody's coming here, what the fuck, I was gonna raid you guys, oh my god, I saw you guys were playing Borderlands, oh no, disaster, oh my god, wait, isn't there a fourth one? Wasn't there 4 of you guys? Hey, welcome in. Makes it even better. Well, hello everybody, hello, oh my goodness. The raids are still pouring in. Thank you, Wolfie, thank you, Boppo. Yeah, all of us raided here. Well, I appreciate it, thank you guys. Insane, this is my first time getting triple rated, so, hi, hello everybody, in case you've never met me before, I'm Nakara Linen. I'm currently in my werewolf form because it is the Halloween times. And I have just kind of been on a rant about making games and, trying to make a creature catcher game, because I would like to make a creature quadruple rated. It was quadruple rated! Okay, it was catching up. My OBS was getting overwhelmed. I was gonna say, I thought there was a 4th, I just couldn't remember who it was. So I was not incorrect. But yeah, in case you guys missed it, or you want to see, I modeled a version of Platena from Beastie Ball, if you guys are familiar with that game. And not only did I model it, I animated it. And I was just kind of showing that off because I wanted to try to get back into 3D modeling. Because ideally, I would like to make a 3D Nakara one day. He's just a little guy, right? Look at the little guy. If it's as I suspect, individual shape key animations would be lighter, but neat in mass, leading to maybe being heavier in the long run. Frankly, I don't know. I feel like it depends on, like, mostly the fidelity of your model is what really matters. From what I know, a lot of the memory usage, from what I understand, comes down to the polygons and the lighting associated with your game and your model. So, hey, Lux is here. Ooh, you got the white wolf. I saw, I think it was Blue Kitten. I got the black wolf, so you got the white wolf. Hell yeah. Mike, I love the wolf colors. They make me so happy. But yeah, I tried modeling another one too, but it did not go as well because I kind of fucked it up. So give me a second, I will showcase this. But yeah, oh, I totally never finished the intro. Yeah, but besides rambling about games today, I typically play a lot of survival games. I'm hoping to focus on more horror games. So if any of you guys want to play like some, spoopy horror games with me, you should totally do that. I tried modeling this guy. I love this guy. This is Proteus. Look at him. Yeah, there's Gambler for follow button. Yeah, there is. Mylon would love to. Bob just already volunteering. Mylon just like, yeah, get in there, buddy, get it. But yeah, this is Proteus. Look at it. He's so fucking cute, right? I unfortunately deleted the file because I was not happy with it because I realized after I had weight painted the guy, I made a serious mistake, which was lack of bones. I gave him 2 little bones. His bendy did not look right. I love horror. You can hear me scream anytime. Yeah. I gotta get this new game that just came out. You might have heard of it, Gib. It's called Deathground, which is, it's a multiplayer horror game, but dinosaurs. And as you guys know, I like dinosaurs. Bendy did not look right. Oh my god, it's Kate! My boy, I haven't seen you in 84 years! I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, like, a lot of these creatures from here I wanted to model because they're so simple. Like, look at Bungus! Look at Bungus! He's so chongy. He would be so much fun to make. Now, granted, not all of these models have animations because it's still an early access game, and it's only being animated by like 2, maybe 3 people. Yeah. Bongus, Surgus, and Illugus. I think in terms of design, I gotta say Illugus is probably my favorite. I haven't heard of this Deathground game. It just released like yesterday. But yeah, in case you ever want to play this game too, this game is called Beastie Ball, by the way, and I highly recommend it. It is super fun. Honestly, like, one of the best, like, Pokemon-esque type games I've played in a hot minute. I'm still working on a playthrough for this channel here, so if you do want to see more of Beastie Ball, I will be streaming this more. I've already beaten it on my own time, and as I said before, the ending was phenomenal. The ending was one of the best things I had ever experienced in quite a long time in gaming. It was so good. And I don't want to say what it is, because it is best if you experience it for yourself, whether it be watching it for the first time or playing it by yourself. I would say playing it by yourself is optimal, of course. But if you do just want to, sit back and watch me play it, hey man, it's totally fine. But yeah, I hope you guys will be there when I finish that, because it took me forever. Like, this game is hella strategic. For a game that only has literally 3 types, essentially, it is fantastic. How's Unica? I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. I am vibing. I am chilling, hopefully getting more games soon. I had to buy clothes for work first, but now that that is done, I have, like, essentially no more big purchases to make for the rest, well, not for the rest of the year, until Doggo has to go to doggy doctor for his usual vaccines. And thank you, Mylon, for the hydrate. I currently have smoothie right now. It's good. But yeah, I mean, just look at the animations. Okay, look at Supalero. He's so freaking cute. Every time she tries to end streams, she gets raided. Yep. I guess you guys have just said, like, you know what? Screw her. She's streaming all night. Lock in, girly. I mean, he's good. Surveys for my kitty boys in the chat here. You guys would love Surveys. He's so fucking good. I can't wait to see Daredillo animated. He is not animated yet, but I love his design. Oh, Oh, and speaking of Proteus before, if you want to see what Proteus turns into, it's crazy. So we know Proteus here, our lovely little noodle boy. He turns into Hydrolm. And this motherfucker, I fought this motherfucker at the end of the, like, towards the end of the game. Not to give too much spoilers away, but he was an asshole. I love him to death. I love his design, but it was painful to fight. Subathon, but every raid resets the timer. No, yeah, I want to get a Hydrolm. My goal when it comes to the stream playthrough that we're doing, I want you guys to help me decide what types of creatures I get in the team. So whatever ends up being my final team is going to be up to you guys. So I think if I remember right, in the game currently, we have I have Bandicraft is what is going to be my final starter. I personally just love Bandicraft because it was between Bandicraft, Hopra here, and Castlete. So primarily power type versus primarily spirit type versus primarily mind type. I just like Bandicraft. I liked its colors better, and I liked the kind of creature it was. I almost went with Axolotl, but I learned about Hopper, and I was just like, I don't know. I preferred Bandicraft. Castlete is also pretty cool, though. I will be real. And on my OG team, I think it was Bandicraft. I believe it was maybe Zephyr here. I believe I tried to put Garud in there for a time. Serve Ace was definitely there. I loved Serve Ace. He was great. Who else did I have? Scrolling. I had Boldler. I love Boldler. I had him like basically as long as I possibly could. Goodest boy, love him. I had Heliath. Heliath is also one of my top favorites. He comes from Humflet, and he turns into this guy on most of them because Humflet is special in that Heliath and Lunaptra here both come from Humflet, but Humflet with the normal coloration, which is what you see here, or, you know, any of these variations, turns into him. And Humflet with the variant form turns into Lunaptra. So I just went with Heliath because I learned about him and I thought he was the sickest thing ever. So yeah. I'm trying, because you have 5 per team, and I tried to go with basically like beasties that like were meant to be like most powerful. So like I had Surveys, I had Heliath for spirit, I had Boldler for body, I think I went for Garud for the mind power, whereas Bandicraft was for mind defense. By the way, I used to be multi-fin. Okay. I'm going to need to wake early tomorrow. I shouldn't have stayed, but I did. All right, bye. Totally fair. Yeah. I mean, I've stayed longer than I expected to, but I didn't want to just be like, oh, thank you so much for the raid, guys. Bye. But yeah. So, I mean, that's just what I had on this team, though. So whatever chat decides will be my final team for the game is just what I'm going to have to work with. And there's like tons of beasties we still gotta catch. I think we've only just beaten like Jim. Sorry about delaying the stream. Nah, don't worry about it. I want to say happy birthday to you anyway. That's why I was gonna raid your stream because I knew it was your birthday. It was your birthday today. So chat, for anybody who wasn't in, you know, Mylon's collab there, tell Mylon happy birthday. Heck yeah. But yeah. Oh heck yeah! You didn't think I wasn't gonna say happy birthday to you on your birthday? Get out of here. Of course I gotta say happy birthday. I mean, I already said it once today already. But happy birthday again, so you wrecked idiot. I don't know what that was. But yeah, overall, this game, great if you like creature catchers like Pokemon. The mechanics are super unique. I've never, you know, seen a creature catcher like this one before because it does not rely on typical elemental creatures like Pokemon, like I guess kind of Digimon, like Pal World. It is mind, power, and spirit. There is no types per se, because as you can see based on the creatures I click here, they all have variations of mind power, or power, spirit, and mind here, just differing in terms of their actual power versus their defense. So a lot of it mostly just depends on, matching up, power to defense. So like, if I see that, Tortanker here has like crazy high spirit defense, I'm not going to want to attack him with Heliath, because Heliath is primarily a spirit fighter. It's not good. Nor am I going to want to hit him with spirit moves. And if I see here, like, according to this, Tortanker is, strongest, he is a strong mind fighter, I'm not going to want to send in Turrogue, because Turrogue is going to absolutely get stomped by this guy. And of course, like, there's only technically like 3 moves per turn in order for you to like power up your beastie before you got attacked. Technically 2, because the third one you either have to pass the ball to them, like free ball it and give them the pass, or you have to do your attack on the 3rd turn. So you really only have like 2 turns to do any powering up, any moving of your beasties that you need in order to, optimize your team strat. So it's good. It's fucking good. You should go check it out. Anyway, now I must rethink my strategy here, because, well, I can't really raid Mylon now. Mylon's already here. That's not gonna work. Do we have any suggestions, chat? Do you or Mylon or Bob, if you guys have anybody who is currently streaming? Because surprisingly, I really only have like 1 homie who's streaming right now, which seems kind of crazy to me. But yeah, I don't know. I just saw Brave go live. Oh man, I haven't rated Brave in a hot minute. Brave literally just went live. Hold on, let me refresh. Maybe that's why I didn't see. Ah! Yes, I see! Now I see. So you know what? Yeah. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll go raid Brave. Let us prepare the raid, because I too must also awaken tomorrow for work. I still have 2 more days. Normally I don't work on Saturday, but because I took Monday off to drive back home from Maine, I had to take an extra day to recover. So, yeah. But thank you all for joining me for my little rambling session today. I hope you had a wonderful time. And I hope maybe I can do more rambling sessions in the future if you guys, have any other topics you want me to discuss. Whether it be like, rating people's shit, talking more about topics that I know of or am interested in, etc., etc. I don't know what else to put here. But yeah, I hope you will join me. It's probably gonna be next week. I can't stream this Saturday because it is Cam's birthday, and I promised Cam I would be spending the day vibing with him instead of streaming, so we will be doing Icarus the following week. And I will try to get back on schedule with putting out actual proper schedules now that I'm back and home for the foreseeable future. But thank you all so much for joining me again one final time, Mylon, because I'm going to beat this dead horse. Happy birthday! And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!